one.
Let's go up.
Good evening, Yorktown, and welcome to tonight's Town Board Work Session. It's Tuesday, December 8th, 2020. If you could all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if you could please join me in a moment of silence as we remember 79 years ago yesterday of the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we remember members of the greatest generation, but we also remember the sacrifices that were made and are continued to be made in order for us all to be free.
Yes.
A day that will live in infamy.
December 7th, 1944. What do you want?
Thank you. We'll do introductions quick and jump right into our work session agenda. Again, my name is Matt Slater, Town Supervisor, joined by Councilwoman Alice Roker, Councilman Tom Diana, Councilman Ed Lachterman. On the phone, we have our Councilman Vishnu Patel. We're joined by our Town Clerk, Diana Quast, who's running control over there. She's like in the control room. And we have our Town Attorney, Adam Rodriguez. We are joined tonight, our first matter of business. Yes.
Can I just jump in one real quick? I know that it's we don't have a report to the town, but I was asked by the owners of Genesis Jeweler when I was dropping off some diapers to just give a little brief statement there. We want to give everyone a huge thank you to everyone who donated to the drive this year. So many donations that came from Yorktown residents, local businesses owners, and the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce. So far, we've collected over 12,000 diapers with a goal of 5,000, and that doesn't include the 5,000 that Steve donates into it. We are collecting until Saturday, December 12th, and we will be announcing the winner of the men's G-Shock watch later in the day on the 12th. Keep them coming, Yorktown, as we say in the diaper bank world, no baby wet behind. And that's Genesis Jeweler. Yeah. Genesis Jeweler in the Triangle Shopping Center, and you can drop those off. Just a fantastic program to help young mothers in need and get some diapers in there for the babies. You know, don't you, Matt?
Oh, I know. Changed a lot of diapers today. All right. Thank you, Councilman.
Diana's got my present back there. I see it.
She does.
Also, are those diapers up there?
Those are my gifts for the seniors.
There you go.
Oh,
I fit that. I'm a senior.
Also, just as a quick aside, on Thursday we're going to have our menorah lighting hosted by Chabad of Yorktown, Rabbi Haber. This will be done as a virtual event. Residents can watch it on the town's Facebook page, and then later on the town website, as well as the government access channels, Channel 20 for Optimum and Channel 33 for Verizon Fios customers. And then Friday, we're going to do our Christmas tree lighting, and that'll be, again, a virtual event. That'll be at 7 p.m. You can watch it live on the town's Facebook page, and then similarly, you'll be able to see them on the town's government access channels, as well as the website.
It's Friday, Matt, or Saturday?
Friday. The weather on Saturday is not going to cooperate again.
Again.
will you be singing, Matthew?
I will not be singing. No.
Oh.
So I see that we're joined by our Water Superintendent, Kenny Rundle. We are also joined by our Town Comptroller, Pat Caparel. We are waiting for a presentation by Sustainability Partners. Actually, there's quite a few who are going to be on this one, which we're very excited to hear. And our town clerk is letting them in.
I'm going to need a bigger computer.
Yeah, there's going to be a full screen here.
You got to go little.
Yeah. Like they say in the movie Jaws, we need a bigger boat.
Fantastic.
Hi, good evening.
Scott Fitzgerald and Francis Corcoran.
Francis?
Scott with FW Web, correct, Scott?
Yes, thank you for having us.
Excellent. And we have Francis Corcoran with us of Sustainability Partners. Francis, would you mind introducing your team that you have with you tonight?
Sure, absolutely, Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. Honorable Board, Supervisor, Clerk. My name is Francis Corcoran. I'm a member of the board for Sustainability Partners. We're an infrastructure company that provides infrastructure for municipalities, universities, schools, and hospitals across the country. We're here tonight to talk to you about your meters and ways in which we believe we can add some value to the situation that you have in your town. With us tonight, I have Dan McGuire, who is the National Regional Sales Manager for Camstrup, the producer of the water meters, the manufacturer. I also have Scott Fitzgerald, who is with FW Web, and they are the distributor and supplier for the water meters. I have on the sustainability side, Jason McGow, who is the Director of Strategic Analytics for Sustainability Partners, as well as Parker Goldstein, who is an associate. And I believe, I can't see, but I think we may have Adam Kane on there as well, who is our COO and General Counsel.
Let me just check to make sure that we have him.
May I-
Do we have Adam Kane?
And I forgot, and also Matt Millay, who is with C&S Companies, the engineering firm, and he is out of Albany.
Great. Thank you all for joining us. I just want to make sure that, Diana, do we have Adam? I know there's a lot. I know there's a lot of people, so I just want to give Diana time to get everybody in line and in order here.
Yeah.
I don't see an Adam on my listing unless he's on under a different name.
Different name.
But I have nobody in the waiting room under that name either.
I'm going to ping him right now. I don't think he's joined yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think, and we can start with Adam, Supervisor. I know we're limited to a half hour or so, and we don't want to waste the valuable time of the board.
Okay, fantastic. Please proceed.
It came to our attention that the town of Yorktown was in the process of, over the last number of years, working in the water meter area. I had approached the supervisor who knew that I had been working in infrastructure with Sustainability Partners about possibly providing him some input on a possible solution. As we all know, the mechanical meters, and if you want to put up the presentation, Parker, if you could share the screen.
Who's going to run that point for you?
Parker's got that.
Parker's got it? Great.
So he should be sharing the screen now.
Perfect.
All right, so we got that first page.
Yep.
Right, Yorktown. You look, those kayaks might look familiar. But the issue with the problem of mechanical meters is declining revenue. And so over time, mechanical meters lead to a decrease in revenue and an increase in capital costs, maintenance, repair, and replacement, as Superintendent Rundle will be able to tell you. It also, declining meter performance drives rate increases and deferred capital investment to offset revenue loss. There's a breach of trust as ratepayers ultimately pay more and more for the same or declining services rather than seeing their.
Yeah, I'm on mute.
Gordo's sister said she was great.
Pat, you're not on mute.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Hey, Pat. Hello, Controller. But anyway, so taxpayers essentially see their utility fees invested in system improvements, and they don't really see the benefit, and in fact, sometimes see declining services.
Yeah.
And with mechanical meters, as you know, the emergency repairs are far more costly than planned improvements and surgical capital investments based on, sort of sound meter data sets. So it leaves in place looks at margins that are leaving in place with the current situation. It leads to the same operational and revenue challenges within 10 years. So year after year, the problem continues to get worse and worse. So with ultrasonic metering, which we're going to talk about, and the partnership between the manufacturer, the distributor, FW Web, and sustainability partners, we're looking to provide Yorktown with a full service delivery, installation, operation, and management, long-term capital financing model that would give Yorktown and its users a debt-free, state-of-the-art ultrasonic water metering system. And I'd like to walk you through the benefits of the water meter, then take you through a little bit of how the financials work, and then a little bit of a timeline, if that would be all right, Supervisor.
Absolutely. Can you just say debt-free again?
Yeah. So again, debt-free, and we'll get into that because again, the ultrasonic meters, Dan will speak to it, but there's no moving parts, pinpoint precision, data quality, remote reading capability, and all kinds of alarms from, for snowbirds when they're away to, if there's a burst pipe, or even before that, a temperature change in their places. They can be alerted by their phone or whatever. We'll get into all that, but the infrastructure as a service part is, it's a use-based billing. So it turns it into more of a utility than it does a bond or a debt instrument. And so this allows us to provide upgrades and maintenance. There's no impact on your bond ratings or your credit ratings. Under this model, it's a 30-day termination. There's no fees if you terminate. There's no penalties. And what happens is, in looking at the revenues, looking at the recapture with using these new meters and stretching it out over a longer term, we're able to set a fixed fee of how much it would cost each month for you to provide your residents with uninterrupted, water quality, not wasting a single drop, being as efficient and as environmentally friendly as possible because you're not wasting any water. So what I'd like to do is have Dan, if he could, talk about the Camstrup Flow IQ product. If he's still there.
Dan?
Hey, Dan?
Muted.
You're muted.
Let's see here.
Apologies.
No problem.
I'm here. So as was mentioned already by Francis, the ultrasonic metering technology provides several benefits over the traditional mechanical meters that tend to wear and degrade their accuracy curve over the life of the meter. So the ultrasonic technology has several benefits to Yorktown. Number one, there's no moving parts, so we sustain our accuracy long term. This protects the revenue stream of your cash register. The meter is a cash register. It generates revenue for the town of Yorktown. So when you sustain that accuracy curve long term, you're protecting your revenue stream. And ultimately, this tends to provide rate stabilization. Another benefit is to your customers. Everybody gets fair and equitable billing when you have an accuracy curve that's sustained long term. And then, because we do not degrade like a mechanical meter and lose accuracy, we never contribute to your unaccounted for water loss. So we actually reduce your water loss long term by maintaining that accuracy curve. And then there's also customer service benefits to our solution in real-time alarms. So what type of customer service benefits are we talking about? Number one, we have a leak alarm. We can detect continuous small, minute flows that contribute to higher bills over time. So when we detect this in a 24-hour period, we will immediately send an alarm through the system so that you can alert your customer base that there's an abnormal usage going on at their home. They can call in a plumber or check on it themselves, and they don't get surprised with a high bill at the end of the billing period. You can tell them about this abnormal usage up front, and they can tend to it. We also have a unique temperature alarm. When the temperature comes down to 36 degrees, the meters are installed in the basement. When the temperature reaches 36 degrees, we will send out an alarm that says, hey, we are approaching a freezing event. Take precaution. We do not want any frozen pipes within the basements of the homes. So when we get those cold Arctic blasts that come down in the wintertime from the Arctic, we will have a temperature alarm that would allow you to let your customers know they're approaching a freezing event. And that's a very nice tool for snowbirds as well. And then to you, the utility, we can use these alarms as identifying theft. If a customer thinks that they want to get away with paying their water bill and they want to remove their meter from service, you'll get a tri-pipe alarm that will tell you at the utility, hey, someone's removed their meter from service. Or if they want to reverse it and try and reverse the flow pattern on their register, you'll see that as well. So the alarms are twofold. It's an improvement in customer service for the utility, and then it also identifies theft for the utility's users.
So next slide. So Dan?
Yeah, so Camstrup, who is Camstrup and what is our value? Camstrup is the global leader in ultrasonic metering technology. We have been at this for almost 30 years, far and away more than any of our competitors. Worldwide, we are known for quality. The name Camstrup is synonymous with quality, and that's evident by our low failure rate. We have less than 0.5% annual failure rate on our products worldwide. And if you compare that with the traditional mechanical meters, that is far superior. We do have that new meter accuracy for life, but what's interesting about that is we are the industry leader when it comes to starting flow. We can measure at low flows that none of our competitors can. And that helps, once again, reduce your unaccounted for water loss. We protect your investment with a 20-year new meter accuracy warranty. And we have excellent battery management because we want to make sure that you get the longevity of the solution that you're signing up for. And then lastly, due to our experience, we are the only company that offers acoustic leak detection technology within our meter. And what this does is it allows the utility to monitor your distribution system on a daily basis, looking for abnormalities or leaks within your distribution system. Okay, and when you can identify that, you can react quicker, repair these leaks, and then once again, reduce your unaccounted for water loss. So that's in a nutshell who Camstrup is and our value proposition to Yorktown.
Yeah, the real value of this is of course, is the low failure rate, which means that, maintenance is a minimum. The ability for the Camstrup meters, the ultrasonic meters, to actually be able to capture revenue that other meters cannot with below a half a gallon measurements that they can use. So that's a pickup in revenue, which we'll show you later. And then you look at the battery life, et cetera. The other thing is that none of these parts ever actually touch the water. So there's no flow valves or there's no pinwheels in there that are interacting with the water. So from a sanitary standpoint, these are as clean as they get. And, again, all this is geared to minimizing water loss, not just from the revenue standpoint, but, water is a precious commodity. And from an environmental standpoint, we want to minimize that loss in any way that we can. So next slide. Parker. Right. So, one of the things we talked about is that SP pays 100% of the design, the materials, the installation, the maintenance, the upgrades to of the assets. It's all included within the master service agreement. So, one of the great things about the water meters is, it really is the cash register for the town. And because it's a cash register, it's easy for us to be able to identify, any loss in revenues and to be able to account for those. So when we do this, the water meters are entirely within the control of the municipality. So Yorktown has total control over them. They're subject to month-to-month contracts. So again, no termination fees or penalties. You're essentially assessed a flat monthly fee for the duration of the agreement. And it's on a per meter basis, and it comes and includes all the ongoing maintenance and support. So there will never be a time when there's any outlay of capital, any maintenance or repairs. It's all included in all all under the agreement for, the 20 or 25 years that we do this. Again, these are an ideal asset for us to be able to finance because they, are easily predictable and the ongoing user fees are known. So the MSA is like paying an electricity bill or a gas bill. It's not recognized as we, so Patricia knows, as a debt of the municipality, and it doesn't go on their balance sheet. It's an off balance sheet item. So it allows the municipality to be able to go out and borrow for other purposes. So, it could be for other things that the town may need or programs and services, but it's not carried, this capital expense, this ongoing maintenance, none of this is carried on their books as an expense or anything that would affect their credit rating or their borrowing ability. All right, Parker. Again, I don't want to bore you with all this, but essentially you wouldn't have to worry about any capital outlays. We named some other things in there that we can do this. We can do this with. We reduce your utility usage and cost because we use smart technology that optimizes energy use and integrates environmental effectiveness. From our standpoint, SP's infrastructure is a utility service, and we essentially give you flexibility in, versus a traditional financing source. And we convert the infrastructure investment from capital expenses and expenditures, take them out of your capital budget, and we basically create an off-balance sheet operating expense on a month-to-month basis, just like if you were paying your national, we don't have national gas, we have Con Ed over here, but just like you're paying your Con Ed bill or any other utility bill. So it really is a positive impact on your balance sheet. It avoids any detrimental impacts of leverage or debt service or asset coverage or any other financial ratios or covenants that could potentially impact the town's existing credit profile. And there's no restrictions on cash or debt service reserve accounts needed because these are all working capital balances and they're, again, off balance sheet. We cover all the maintenance, the warranties. So essentially it's worry-free maintenance, service, warranties. You essentially have the most modern technology out there. We put it in, we operate it, we maintain it. When it changes, we replace it. So if the technology changes in a few years, that's factored into our model. No increase to or cost to the town. We will replace it with the new technology that's out there. And again, it's a monthly service, essentially a utility. So it looks like an electronic invoice that you would get from any of your other utility companies. You can cancel it at any time. We give it back to you at an agreed upon rate. But our issue is we really want to have quality and satisfaction so that this is something that we're doing with you for the next 25 years with no hidden fees or penalties or anything else.
All right, do you want to hear from anybody else from the town board?
We're just going to run through the numbers if you wanted us to.
Why don't we go through this part and then we can now open up the questions from the board. Is that okay, Councilman Patel?
We're almost done here, if that's all right. And I know you guys are pushed on time. Hey, Jason, do you want to talk about this?
Absolutely. Thank you, Francis. As you can see from this slide, we put together a preliminary sort of a proxy view based on a first set of numbers that we got from the town. Our proxy is using an estimated 10,000 meters for the town and the surrounding area. Where we come up with is based on Francis's definition earlier is, our preliminary guesstimate would be a $5.30 per meter per month utility assessment. And again, that has zero interest payments. That's just the all-in. That includes your monthly maintenance. That's an all-in factoring of what the utility payment would look like. And then once we took that, we then said, okay, how does that translate into a benefit for the town? And you'll see in that first box there, there's no upfront cost. There's no capital cost for the town to absorb. SP, absorbs that entire amount with its partnership with FW Webb and Canstrip. That is factored in already into that $5.30 utility basis. What we have been able to determine is that, and we'll walk through the numbers here in just a moment, but we think that just the implementation of the meters alone can improve the city's financial position by about $845,000 per year in revenue pickup simply from implementation of next generation technology meters and eliminating the loss of the water loss of the leakage and the antiquated meters. On top of that, based on some preliminary numbers we did get from the town and from Supervisor Slater and his team, is that we think there's an incremental savings that can be achieved through lower, municipal expenditures related to operations and maintenance. The existing budget that was contemplated to do a longer-term meter replacement cycle would no longer be required, and that gives us sort of a net benefit to the town. And then the last piece of that I'll show on the next slide is sort of the general workup of how we arrived at those numbers. So those two components, the $843,000, roughly $844,000 per year in an annual net cash gain, simply from the recoup of water revenue that's currently being estimated to be lost in the system. Combine that with the budgetary benefit that we think the town could ultimately achieve, and we would be estimating about a $1.5 million net economic benefit to the town. And the numbers behind that, you think about the current revenue that the city is generating, the town's generating from its water department, a little north of $7 million. So the incremental gain that we think that could be achievable from replacing the antiquated meters, as well as, you heard Dan allude to earlier, that the mechanical meters have, decay on an annual basis as those moving parts start to degrade and wear down. The fact that the ultrasonic meter does not have that, problem with degradation in the moving parts, you actually save about a 1 to 1.5% per year of future water losses because the meters stay in a state of good repair much longer than a mechanical meter would. So that's what the chart on the right there is meant to illustrate, is over the long term, over a 25-year period, simply on the recovered revenue alone, it could be an aggregate value north of $41 million, simply by implementing the leak detection, the acoustic leak detection meter, and the superiority of the ultrasonic versus a mechanical meter. So again, I don't want to run too much into the details since I know we're short on time, but that was sort of the analysis we went through to, at least on a preliminary basis, give you guys an idea of where we think we can really provide value to the town, with respect to not only maintaining the existing water revenue structure and dollars that you already have coming in, but augment that with the pickup of lost revenue due to leaks and inaccuracy of the existing water meter structures.
All right. And then that's basically it. And we're ready for questions.
All right, let me start it. Can I start it, guys?
Yes.
How many people knows on the board mass flow controller, how it works? This technology was invented in 1842. And you know who invented? The Doppler, okay? And, it is a frequency, directly Doppler to the liquid flow, and, you measure from the velocity, discontinuity. But my issue is three things, What is the battery you need for, okay? And temperature is very critical. When you use the mass flow control, I used to use a mass flow controller, 1 SCCM of helium or many other gases, very dangerous. I had 30 mass flow controller in my system. We build it ourselves. And it's a calibration factor, the temperature, and, and then you are talking about the battery. What is really the battery's function in that one? Why do you need the battery?
Thanks, Councilman. Thanks, Councilman Patel. So, Dan, do you want to talk about that, the battery? And
yeah, the battery function of the battery is twofold. We have to take a sample every 1 to 4 seconds of the water so that we can provide the measurement required. And then the second function of the battery is to power the radio that sends the information from the meter to the network infrastructure so that you can receive meter readings, real-time alarms, and the acoustic leak detection. And that is done 8 times per day. We send a transmission with that data through the network. And that's the primary function of the battery.
And how long the battery lasts?
The batteries last they're designed to last for 20 years, and they're designed with our meter transmitting at optimal power, which is 1 watt of power. However, I have to point out we have a unique feature within our infrastructure where we monitor the path of the communication and the signal strength and the power. And because we build redundancy into the network, we have a feature where we do not always need to operate at maximum power, 1 watt. We can reduce that power level and still get better than 98% successful read rate. And what that does is that tends to extend beyond the 20 years, the life of the product. So we've built in some features there that allows us to extend the 20-year life.
Okay, I have 2 questions. No matter where the water comes from, it comes from old pipes from filtration plant. And there are many breaks in the pipeline, and there are other places, water leaks. So there is a big water loss, more water loss in the town infrastructure than people. Meter is a very good thing, because we have. So are you familiar with what kind of thing we already have it in the town?
So Councilman Patel, Dan, if you want to talk about the leak detection and then talk about what they have there now.
Yeah, so currently the meters you have do not have the capability to listen into the distribution system for leaks. And that's the unique feature that our meter provides that no other manufacturer has embedded in their meter. And that's the acoustic leak detection technology. So what we're able to do is detect leaks within the distribution pipes and the service mains. And that happens when you have a pressurized system, there's a crack. That leak, when the water is leaking out, it emits a tone or a frequency, and that's what we hone in on. So our meters can tell you where within your distribution system you have leaks within your service lines and your distribution mains, so you can go out and tend to those leaks quicker.
Okay, so the last, you guys, we have, I don't know, Kenny, you want to tell how many meters we have it now? 2,000 or how many?
10,000 meters.
We already have, right now, how many we have, new meter which you can remotely read it. And the second question is, we already have infrastructure. That not only the town water, but everything run by the town, that infrastructure can be integrated into the system, that how many trucks, where they are, when they were repaired, whatnot, everything is available on. Can you use those systems, incorporate in your water meter, which already existed? We have to spend a lot of money. Meter is no big deal, I'm not really concerned now because $1 million was spent at that time. And what we have now is working. Can you integrate with what we have? Okay? Because this technology could be anything. You can run car with gasoline. You can, alcohol or for some other source of energy to make the car run. The jet engine runs like that. Can you integrate this technology, with what already have it? Your new technology and the old meter we have.
Dan, you want to answer that, or you want me to talk about the value in the newer acoustic leak detection meter? So, the purpose here is to replace the old ones that you haven't done anything with over the years, as well as the new ones that are beginning to fail and are already showing some water loss, so that, to your point, let's just say we left some of the newer / older ones in there, and there was a water leak somewhere, and you're losing, hundreds of gallons of water, thousands of gallons of water before somebody can find it or get to it. that sort of defeats the whole cost of, replacing those meters. So the idea would be to put the technology across all of the meters that you have to ensure that you're always operating at the highest efficiency with pinpoint accuracy on where your water is, what it's doing, how you're billing for it. And especially to your point, Councilman Patel, the loss that can occur somewhere in one of those old pipes away from somebody's brand new meter in their house, it'll get them there faster, more accurately to be able to deal with it and fix it than, having to spend the night in January freezing and handing out water to neighborhoods. So the idea would be to replace all of it with the newest, most available, best technology that is out there.
Hey, Kenny Rundle,
but one of the things I really very concerned is the temperature. Temperature is a killer. You have no control. It can go 0 degree in a few hours, and how everybody is not home and like that. So, and there are already meters, they already sell it. I have students, they did a summer project, and I sponsored that project, and for 2 years, and they know all these things, really. They taught me. I have been using these mass flow controllers in 35 years, okay? We used to use a silane, diboron, phosphine, arsen, you name it, man. Solid, liquid, gas. We made all the computer technology using those mass flow controllers. And they were in a very big flow. And, this you use, your meters are very different. You are using wastewater treatment and, sewer and all, but you cannot use in the manufacturing of drugs and like that because they don't take a distilled water. You cannot test it. You need those ions. And I am very, quite knowledgeable about your frequency, the droplet effect. That's something really not new at all. You are integrating with some other devices. That is really good. But let's the board discuss now what is your financial gain. I'm really interested.
Other board members have questions.
Yes, we do.
Before you go there.
That's what I'm saying.
Councilwoman Roker, do you want to begin?
Yeah. Can you tell me where this system is already in use?
Dan, do you want to, Dan or Scott, whichever one you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, we have several AMI deployments here in the United States, and we have specific case studies that we can share with you, and they talk directly to the benefits we've been discussing in terms of accuracy resulting in increased revenue when you change out underperforming mechanical meters versus ultrasonic. So we have installations. We have AMR installation in Massachusetts. We have in North Carolina, in Texas.
Massachusetts? Where?
Somerset, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
I know where it is.
And we can provide you a list of references if you'd like to call those customers and talk about their experience with the product. That's no problem if you would like us to provide that to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
And then, Councilwoman, from the sustainability partner standpoint, we're in the midst of 110,000 water meters through CanStrup. Jason, our latest order?
Yeah, I think it's actually closer to 150 to 175. We have a couple of customers, especially down in Louisiana, who have witnessed about a 30 to 35% increase in their water revenue on their water side, which again has also translated to the sewer side using the same meter as the volume actuator for their both sides. So we've got a number of customers both in Louisiana, Mississippi, as well as a couple that in North Carolina that are about ready to go live. And to Francis's point, when it's all said and done, it's going to be north of about 175,000 meters.
Okay, can you send us information on those?
We can certainly give you some information as to the type of meter because they are the AMIs that Dan was speaking to. Those are still in progress and have not been fully deployed, but we do have some that are in the southern part of Louisiana that have been deployed and can certainly send you the same type of case studies that Dan referenced.
Okay. And those are the ones, Councilwoman, that we're referencing the increase in the pickup with the water revenues.
Okay. All right. Now, we have to make it clear to people who may be listening that we're not increasing the cost of water. What you're saying is basically Many of our older meters are underreporting the use of the water. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. They're underreporting right out of the gate, because with the new meters, it actually measures water under a half gallon, which you're not currently able to capture. So we pick up all that revenue that you've never really had, plus any inefficiencies or maintenance issues where you're not capturing the water. You don't know about any potential stealing of water or things like that, but Jason can tell you exactly how the base works. So you'll never, ever, you're not going to lose the revenues that you already have, which equates to you're not going to increase the costs to your customers. And Councilman Patel made a good point about the water temperature sensors, the frozen pipes. We actually have incorporated in this number software that allows the town to put into its residents' hands, just like you would with your smartphone, the ability to, in real time, monitor their water use, have those frozen pipe type of alarms sent to them. So if you're in Florida and you get the alert on your phone that the temperature is at 36 degrees, you can call your neighbor and say, I think my furnace just went out. Can you run over to my house? Because I just got an alarm. So we're incorporating software in there as well, so we can put the water usage right back into the water users, the customers' own hands. But Jason, if you want to talk about the base revenues for them and how that works and any potential increase, that there wouldn't be any increase to users.
Yeah, I think it's illustrated quite nicely on this slide here that we have up. The base revenue that I took from Town of Yorktown's financials is, I think, $7.1 million for 2019. Based on analysis that we've done in concert with working with Dan and his team, we've estimated that, older meters that are 20, 30, 40 years old generally have about 8 to 10% recognizable water loss if you do a test through the water volume through those meters. And even some of the newer installs, we think they're based on discussions that we've had, the mechanical degradation in some of those, and the ability to capture water at much lower flow rates. We're estimating around 1.5 to 2% pickup just on those new installs. So we've gone through some exercises where we think we've taken a fairly conservative approach in the amount of lost revenue that's currently embedded in the existing infrastructure and system, and where we think that the deployment of these new water meters with the enhanced acoustic leak detection can augment the existing revenue streams that the town is already seeing. And that you see that in the top part of that chart, right? The revenue recovery per meter per month it ends up, and the cost per month, you've got almost a 2.5 time cost recovery just from the more accurate water meetings and the ability water meter readings and the ability to identify leaks much more effectively, and therefore reduce the amount of lost water revenue.
All right, I have one more question, but I need Kenny up before I ask the question. So can I see Kenny?
Kenny, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How much water do we lose a year?
Last year we lost about 18%.
What does that translate into gallons?
Dollar.
So we purchased about 1 billion gallons a year, and I'm not the greatest in math, but 18% of that, maybe if somebody could help me out.
I'm not good at math either, Kenny, so that's so now I'm going to go to you. You're going to capture that revenue that we've lost. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Will you capture the 18% that we lose in water every year?
Yes. Yeah, that's the whole idea, that they have a less than 0.5% failure rate on their meters, and so therefore your meters are going to be up and running, for and again the warranty for 20 years, and they're also going to be able to capture revenue that you don't already account for.
Yeah, I know when people Ken puts out a report yearly, and you see on it that we've lost a million gallons, or probably more than that. And it would be nice to recover that in terms of money.
Yeah,
Alex?
the whole idea here, Councilwoman, is to minimize the loss down to nothing, and to also make sure that you're not losing water through theft or other reasons. And
Right.
Should there be a pipe in all of our aged infrastructure that we have out there, that this acoustic leak detection can get you there pinpointed faster to fix it, so you lose less of our precious water. So the whole idea is that this system laid across all of your water meters will not only put in state-of-the-art metering, but it will, reduce your water loss, which is how we're able to come up with these numbers. And I don't know, Jason, what did you factor in for the water loss on just?
I was actually pretty close on my estimates. I had 17.1% water loss, so I was actually fairly close.
You're good. Yeah.
And Kenny was at 18, and we know we can do better.
Hey,
How
Kenny.
long-
One quick.
Hey, Kenny.
Hold on, Councilman
I'm
Patel.
not finished.
Councilman Patel. Let Councilman Diane ask his question. I'm sorry, Councilman Roker.
I'm sorry, Alice. I thought you were done.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to know, if we decided to go with this kind of program, how long from design to implementation?
Scott, do you want to answer that? Because we know the answer to that.
Yeah, no, for us, it really is some just logistics behind the scenes as far as tying into the billing software company. I'm comfortable, especially with Dan being on the line. I'm comfortable that, within a quarter, we'd be able to pull all the test files with the billing software company together, get the software in place. Then the collectors have got to go up the gateways in order to communicate with the meters. That's all infrastructure that needs to be put in place before we can start reading meters. I don't think it's unrealistic to think that that can't be done within 3 months, but I do like to tell people between 3 and 6 months, just to obviously be prepared.
And
Thank you, I'm finished.
If I may, just for a quick second, going back to two subjects that we just had. One was comparing the proposal to the meters that you have in your system, and then Kenny's unaccounted for water numbers. Really, the simplistic way of explaining this is our CAMSTRUP technology begins measurement at 0.01 gallons per minute. The meters that you have in place are actually at 0.03. So if you have two water services right next to each other, well, no, how about if we say, if you got 10,000 water systems next to each other and you turn them all on at once, what that statistic is telling you, what that spec is telling you, is that we're measuring the water twice as fast as them. That's how you're going to reduce your unaccounted for water.
Okay.
Excuse me. Councilman Broker?
Yeah?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, because I know I come to the board every year, usually at the end of December, and talk about the thing. I just want to make sure that, we've talked about unaccounted water, non-revenue water. I used the number 17%. So I don't want to set the bar too high. We still are going to have unaccounted water, no matter how accurate these water meters are, from water main breaks, from fires, from our flushing. So I don't want the board being led to believe that if our unaccounted water for is 17% and we put new water meters in, it's going to be 0 or 1%. There's always, that's just the nature of the business. We're always going to have unaccounted non-revenue water for the examples that I just stated.
But that's not millions of gallons of water, right?
No, right.
That was going to be my question to you, Kenny. What is the actual percentage that you think that we expend in water due to flushing and fires and broken mains? 5%?
I would probably say 8-9%.
Okay.
And some people dip.
I'm sorry.
Kenny, maybe you can.
About half of the loss, Ken, is the
I would say that's fair.
Kenny, can you tell us when we started replacing the water meters, how long ago was that?
I believe it was in 2011 we started replacing
And
the water meters.
And the water meters are a 20-year lifespan, correct?
Thereabouts, yes. Yeah.
So we're already coming on to the halfway lifespan of some of those meters, which gives us another 10 years until they have to be replaced, right?
Right. Or till, right.
But then at the pace we're going, as we discussed during the budget hearing, you're not going to get through what's left for another 24 years.
Right. I have a staff of 4 that are in the meter department, and for us to do, to do this, we're not equipped to do it.
Right. And so, I thank you for acknowledging that. But my point being again, though, is it's not so much the staff, but it's also the dollar allocation, because we're only allocating approximately $80,000 a year for you to go put new meters in. And at that rate, it's going to take you 24 years in order to complete the project. Meanwhile, you've got meters that are going to be up in 10. So you're in this perpetual hamster wheel where you're never catching up.
Right.
The value that we provide supervisors, we're able to, because we bring the money right up front to the table, and we can predict the revenue and the increases in the recapture. We're able to replace all the meters. Once we start, anywhere from 6 to 12 months would be our time frame to put all those meters into place. The quarter that Scott had referenced, Councilwoman, was us to be able to go out and to do a pinpoint study of exactly where everything would go and look at the pipes and all those things like that. But once we got the go-ahead, that would all be a part of that. But the value of this is you essentially get state-of-the-art meters for the next 20 years, constantly replaced if there are any upgrades or there are new meters that come out, no maintenance or upkeep or operation, and it's done in a short period of time with more user-friendly interfaces, not only on the town side, but also on the resident side. And it's for those numbers that we're give or take that we have on the preliminaries, and that's the all-in cost to the town to have the state-of-the-art water put into the hands of their citizens to be able to manage.
And we've talked about previously, we have our comptroller on the line, Pat Caparella. We've talked about working together to sync billing cycles, because right now it's not billed monthly or bi-monthly for the town, but that's something that we've discussed previously, I believe, correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah, and again, because of the utility-like model, you, again, and Jason can speak to this a little bit more, you at any time, the town could decide that they don't want to do this any longer. And they, for some reason, they want to own those water meters and maintain them and go out and replace them and all that. And we would then, with 30 days notice, hand those assets back over to you.
All right.
Jason, you want to tell them about how that works?
Yeah, I think I'll touch on 2 quick points, and that is the first one with respect to the billing cycle. I mean, 2 things that could potentially, enhance the cash flow operations of the town is, given that these are near real-time readings, if the town is desirous of improving its cash flow conversion cycle, you can certainly modify and go to a monthly billing because the data will be there. You won't have to worry about sending trucks or anything out to read the meters. It's all captured in the cloud and can be, put right into the central office there for billing purposes. If there is a desire to maintain the quarterly billing cycle, we can certainly work with you on that, either setting up the utility payment on a quarterly basis, or maybe a deferral of 3 months until they start, so that you are sort of, capturing the revenue from the residents and then using that as, for the next 3 months of billings. So it's very flexible. Now to Francis's other point, as far as the reversion of the water meters, if the town should so decide at some point, we would just do an assessment of the remaining useful life of those assets, and whatever the remaining value is, that would be the cost to the town to purchase the rest of the remaining useful life of those assets. So it's, to his point, it's at any point in time, 30 days, we can work together on what's in the best interest of the town and figure out what either to continue on, the month-to-month agreement as, to eliminate the town's need for taking on the maintenance and the upkeep and the balance sheet and of the assets themselves. But certainly that's something that we absolutely can work with the town on.
I think it's also important that I say to the board, and I'm going to bring in our comptroller again. We've met several times with this team because we kept waiting for the I gotcha moment. Right, Pat?
Yeah, I don't have it yet, so I'm good.
And we've tried time and time again to get them to that, well, here's the catch. It's not there.
Yeah, it's
at least we haven't seen it, and we've met, I would say, I don't know,
4 or 5 times.
4, 5, 6 times. But the bottom line is we're going to be able to finally, we're going to be able to do a full water meter project with no upfront costs to the town, which we currently cannot, A, afford. B, we're going to realize realize more revenue for the water department. And we heard again during our budget hearing, the water department, Kenny was the most popular guy in the budget hearing for a number of reasons. But Thanks. This will also not only increase our revenue, but save us dollars. I mean, this is a creative way of us trying to find a solution to a 10-year and potentially additional 24-year problem, unless we finally come to a comprehensive solution. And we've looked at different things for the town to consider. We've looked at bonding. We've looked at a whole host of options. But I think, and I don't want to speak for Pat and Kenny, but I think this is the one that we felt was worthy enough to come and bring to the board and to the public for consideration.
This is financial questions, and listen it very carefully, okay? If we go the way you are suggesting here, with whatever price we agree and everything else, are we going to have one less employee or two, because now they don't have to do the work? Kenny, what do you think about that?
I think we've already talked to Kenny about some ideas for his department. Clearly, the department would need to be modernized. And I think that Kenny, I don't want to speak for Kenny, but we've had those conversations already and coming up with ideas of how we can continue to utilize the employees who are there, making them more efficient and more effective.
I actually had a question for the team that may help with that as well, Matt.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Councilman Lachman.
I'll jump to that as my first one. Do you guys have a billing program available that would help us if we wanted to go in-house billing?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that, Councilman, because we did speak with the comptroller and the superintendent and the supervisor about that. We actually would be able to assist you in being able to put a program in place to remove yourself from the joint waterworks and bill directly to your own users.
Also, Councilman, I'd also add, I don't know, again, to Pat Caparella, if you wanted me to stop, I will. But there's a demonstration that a number of our department heads are going to be observing I think it's next week.
Next Wednesday, the 16th.
About some software that we are very interested in bringing to the town of Yorktown. That software is the same software that Joint Waterworks actually uses for their billing, among other things that it does.
But can I say something on that? Do we have any contract with them, Joint Waterworks, that we cannot do it? We must continue to do it, or we can do it on our own?
We don't have a contract with Joint Waterworks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Councilman, again, our interest is in a long-term 20-year partnership with you on this and hopefully other things. But, what we see across the systems and what Camstrup sees or what FW Web sees, we'll always make sure we're bringing you the best practices that we see out there to make sure, you have the most efficient and effective systems in place. So absolutely, we could help with any of those kinds of issues.
I'm good. I'm good with all of what I've heard. I would just like to get information from areas where you currently are using this kind of program.
You got it, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I'd like to see those references as well. I know you've sent some articles over my way. I can share that with the rest of the board. But if you can, those references would be very helpful. Councilman Lachman, did you have additional questions?
Yeah, well, one more question and one comment, which was a question and was answered. The leak detection in the streets is amazing for the infrastructure, and I think that's a fantastic aspect of this, because that is where we could really save a tremendous amount of money out of those water main breaks, or those water pipe breaks. But I was curious, do you have a product that could be utilized in this whole thing by our commercial water users to see if they wanted to get on board? Would it have to be tied in with the town if you did have a big enough meter? How would that work?
Yeah, Dan, I don't know if you want to touch on that, but we did speak about that, Councilman, in our last meeting with Ken and with Pat, and there are meters and products that are out there and available through Camstrup, same technologies, same uses. But Dan, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that.
Yeah, we have a full line of meters that would address commercial users. A commercial meter size can be anywhere from a 1-inch meter up to a 6-inch meter, and we can support that with our solution.
Yeah, we also talked about that may actually be an increase in pickup in revenues as well, because that's good. That's a good catch, Councilwoman. That was something that jumped out with us, because we didn't put any of those numbers into these numbers that you're seeing here today. So this is not including that.
Well, that would be helpful to be able to include those areas where there are business people as well.
Right.
So along that thought, though, Francis, is the specifics of the program financially, where there's no upfront cost, is that available for those businesses if you utilize a commercial product? Just because the commercial properties are responsible for their meter changing.
I have to be honest, Councilman. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe Jason does, but I'm not sure how we're doing it in other places. I'm not there on the day-to-day. I'm more on the board, but Jason, do you have?
Yeah, Councilman. So you're saying they're responsible for the cost of them, or are they responsible for actually owning the meter themselves?
Cost.
Okay. If they're solely responsible for the cost, then the commercial meters fit right into our program, because technically the town will not own the water meters. We set up a special purpose entity that owns the water meters and enables the town to use them, as if they owned them. So the cost of the water meter itself would be embedded in, and just to give you by way of an example, the proxy value that we put together here for the 10,000 meters includes only about 150 commercial meters of the 1.5 and 2-inch sizes. So once we were able to get the pinpoint accuracy on the exact type and size and quantity of meters, that would be included in this overall project. So again, it would simply be the cost of those meters on the commercial side would be part of this program that then you can monetize through the increased water usage of those commercial customers.
I think we're going to pick up money over there.
I agree, 100%. That's
without a doubt. I think that Kenny, how long has it been since some of those meters have been tested and replaced?
They could be there 40, 50 years.
Wow. Wow.
But
we haven't modeled any of that into our revenue numbers.
Right. What's that, Kenny?
Supervisor, I just wanted to touch on one thing, and I think Councilman Lachman was asking the question on it. As I stated before, our meter staff department consists of 4 employees. Mm-hmm. So this to me is a great idea, but I'm still going to need that staff of 4 to do other things in the meter work itself during the course. Because if one of these, I see in here, there's a monthly minor maintenance fee of 9 cents. Okay, so if somebody's water meter breaks at 2 o'clock in the morning, we're going to respond.
Right.
Okay, and I still need that staff maybe through attrition at some point, we can take a look at that. But I don't think that this is being put in place to reduce our staff.
No.
Kenny, let's be very clear, and I think this board has been very clear all year, but we are not looking to utilize this to replace staff. That's not what we're looking at. The conversations that we've had, and I think the last budget hearing was the perfect segue into this, because there was a lot of discussion about your department. But as you can see here, if we can increase revenue, but also increase savings, we're going to be, and Pat can chime in on this.
Well, I was going to ask one question, Supervisor Slater, if I can chime in for a second, especially from a budgetary standpoint. Slide 7 references a flat fee during the duration of the MSA. So that's the flat fee that's referred to in slide 10, which is the $5.30 per month.
Right.
Yes.
And how long is this MSA? The 20 to 25 years?
Yep, that's right. So it would stay the same for that period of time.
Thank you.
And essentially, it would. You can almost think of it like in perpetuity. At the end of that 25 years, SP would replace any meters that needed to be replaced, and you would continue to pay a utility fee for the use of the brand new meter. So you think of it as a long-term partnership. This initial phase, we expect those meters to last 20, 25 years. At such time as they need to be replaced, SP steps in and replaces all the meters, and the same utility fee or something similar, as long as because there might actually be a better technology 25 years from now, or a lower cost efficiency that enables us to actually lower the payment. But the objective is that the utility payment, not unlike your electric bill or gas or any other type of utility, you kind of don't worry about the equipment, and that's all on SP's shoulders to take care of.
So the $5.30 then would actually be what would be tacked onto each water bill, for the per month. What was it, a total of $63 or $64 a year, if I'm not mistaken? Each water bill would have that quarterly amount added into it.
Or is that part of the operating expenses for the assets?
Yeah, that's what I
thought. 1.5 altogether. So can I just...
Councilman, one second, please. I don't think that is being passed on to the ratepayer, correct? I want to make sure that we're clear on this. Jason or...
From SP's perspective, that's correct. Now, if the town opts to try to pass the cost on to the ratepayer, that's totally at your discretion.
Right. But
it would be an operating expense of the town.
Right.
But going back to that slide, though, the way that it would work, the way that my understanding of it works, is that it would really be offset by the new revenue that's been realized.
Right.
So if we're realizing hypothetically $1.5 million in new revenue above and beyond what we currently budget for, so hypothetically 7.1, then the cost would be hypothetically whatever the number was, $625,000, right? So you're basically skimming that off the top of the new revenue that's coming in. So it's not an additional cost passed on to ratepayers. So ratepayers aren't seeing an increase, but the town and the operating budget is seeing a net increase in revenue.
Absolutely. And essentially the way that this slide reads is that you would actually get almost 2.5 times your cost back in new revenues from increased water meter readings and leak detection.
Right.
So the ratepayers will pay additional monies
because they're capturing more of the read. Exactly.
Yeah,
we're not increasing their rate, and we're not passing the cost on to ratepayers, but they're paying their
true amount of water they get.
Paying the true amount of water. Exactly. And again, the important thing from the town standpoint is there's no upfront cost. So this is all improving the operating budget of the water department, because we're going to be bringing in more revenue than we need to spend. So we're going to be growing the fund balance, which is going to allow us to do capital improvement projects, just like people do at home every day. It's just like if you had to go replace your roof, you have to save up for your roof, and then you go and replace the roof or some other improvement to your house.
Let me ask another question, because I forgot it. on my water bill, it also includes money for the sewer district that I'm in. Well, how will that be done?
I think it would be on the billing side, correct?
Right.
Right. So if they have so that'd be implementation of the new billing program, or continuing the same billing, however we decide to go forward with the billing program.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Is it Jason or Francis, is that accurate? Is that accurate?
Yeah, that would be more on your separation.
That's on our side. That's not on theirs.
We can identify the water revenue and.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, can I just say one word? I like to speak to controller and myself on this 25-year-old 41 million whenever is possible. But let me just say something to the meter program itself. Really, the water saving of the water is more important than anything else, because if we have a population increase, we cannot increase the volume of the pipe. We don't have a bigger pipe. We don't have money to replace the pipe. So this is really the biggest gain by saving the water. Yes. And means less water we use, the better it is for the environment. And you pay for what you use,
Right, but this is going to allow us, like for instance, we had a constituent up in Mohegan Lake, right, Kenny, who called because he had a large bill, and he was asking, why can't I get my water meter or my usage on a more frequent basis? Based on what we're hearing tonight, that ratepayer is going to be able to see what they use on a daily, if not hourly basis. So if you want to improve, water conservation and improve use, people are going to be able to have that information right at their hands, right in their fingertips, so that they know at what times a day is their water use spiking, so they can go look and do an investigation to figure out how do they reduce that spike, whether it's an appliance or sprinklers or a leak. I mean, that's the beauty of the whole. That's one of the beauties of the entire system.
Yeah, we'll even provide through the software the ability for them to put alarms on their own usage. So if it goes above what they had used last month, it will give them an alarm so they can say, hey, I've just gone over what I had used last month and it's already the 15th. So we can do all kinds of things that help to conserve water in many, many ways, including, right at the house up in the loft, but also helping them manage their water usage.
Kenny, you were going to say something?
Yeah, Supervisor, if I may. I was just leading into that question. So the resident called the office and said that he got this bill right before the holidays. It was a lot of money. And he was not challenging the bill. He was asking if we could bill in a shorter amount of time so he doesn't get hit with, so if he went by monthly billing, let's just say for argument's sake, it's a little less painful.
Right.
We had that years ago.
Did you?
Yeah. We had that before I think it went over to the Joint Waterworks.
So,
okay.
Are there any final? I'm sorry.
I just have, I know we're running late. I'm just going to make a quick 2 points. So we just touched on the benefits for the residents. The way I understand it, there would be a dashboard or something like that for the residents to go in and monitor their use and set alarms. But the second thing I'm concerned about and trying to get some information about is our infrastructure that's about 10 years old now. Can that be utilized at all?
I think he said no.
It's not the same level of sophistication. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
But again, to replace doesn't cost the town anything up front.
That's right. That's the whole idea, is to get it to the most state of the art, level, and then be able to build the revenues from there.
Right. Again, no cost to the town up front to make the replacement in technology. Also allows us to do a full implementation rather than a phased-in implementation over nearly 34 years. And so all that's going to allow our water department to get the true revenue that it should be receiving and hopefully function at a higher level than currently allowed due to the fiscal constraints of the department. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Still waiting for gotcha.
I'm still waiting. This is where's Pat?
I'm here.
I'm still waiting.
We're still waiting for gotcha, Pat.
Actually, this is a long-term relation. There's no gotcha. All we're doing is matching up long-term money for institutional investor with a long-term credit risk of a AAA or AA rated town like Yorktown, and getting in the middle to make sure we manage it for the best use and effect for the town so that they maximize the benefit of it. And, it's there for the long term.
So just if we can just put a fine point on this, what is if the town board was so inclined, what would the next steps be from your standpoint?
So from our standpoint, Supervisor, the next step would be for us to just have that the MUSA signed, which is the Master Utility Service Agreement, which is no obligation to the town whatsoever, but it allows us to go in and do the propagation study and some of the things that Councilwoman Roker had asked about, including looking at the commercial meters so that we can tighten in our numbers on what the actual costs and benefits would be, which we think are within this band here, but they could get, I think would probably get better knowing what we all know now. But that would allow us to be able to move forward with, again, no obligation whatsoever to the town, no financial commitments. That would be the next step would be for the signing of the MUSA. It's the same one that the state of Hawaii just signed with Sustainability Partners to provide all their electric vehicles, their electric buses, their charging stations, all their infrastructure for the state of Hawaii last week. So it's a standard agreement that has been vetted in lots of different places.
And would the MUSA cover exploration of commercial water meters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And that would only be up to a 2-inch size, correct? The water would only go up to a 2-inch size, because I know, Kenny, we have some 6 and 8-inch water meters, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, we have larger. There's about 6 inches is the largest.
Those can absolutely be included in this program. We've actually done some with Camstrip on 6 and 8 and even 10-inch meters.
Okay. Yeah, we would inventory all of those things. So the town, everything we do, from the inventories to the purchase of equipment to the installers, everything will be transparent. You will see every bill. We don't mark up any of the materials or any of the products. It is all about us operating this with you to maximize the revenues. Has nothing to do with markups or anything else. So those inventories, those costs, all those things will be transparent to to Pat and to her staff, as well as the board and the supervisor, and Kenny as well, of course.
And then just to make sure that we're clear for the MSA,
MUSA, yeah.
You wouldn't take any next steps, obviously, until you came back to the board with your final.
Of course, the MUSA allows us to sharpen our pencils here and come back with what the final costs would be to implement the program. And to Scott's point earlier, as soon as we got that signed from the sustainability partner standpoint, because we pay, we could get out there in the field to do the site studies, and it could be, again, I don't want to rush it. It's cold, but anywhere between 1 and 3 months to get it done.
Okay.
How much insurance you carry on your business, and how long in the business?
Jason, that's probably a better question for you. I've been on the board for a couple of years now. We started, if you go to our website, Sustainability Partners, we started a number of years back with school districts and prisons in Arizona and in Illinois.
So, yeah, we have a full complement of insurance, not only from the corporate side at Sustainability Partners, but as part of our agreements with our installers. They all execute a master goods and services agreement, which contains insurance provisions as well. And as far as that's from a corporate standpoint. As far as the assets are concerned, there's 2 different options which we can get to, in due course of time, and that is either the assets can be added as the SPV and the owner can be added to the town of Yorktown's existing insurance policy as a named insured, or we do have the option of procuring third-party outside insurance for those assets. That's on the water meter side, but on the corporate side, we've got insurance across every avenue, various riders on that master goods and services agreement to cover every aspect of procurement and installation as well.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
no
you,
other
board.
questions from the board.
How do you guys make your money?
Jason,
we are, as Francis alluded to. Yeah, as Francis alluded to, we are in this for the long term. So the capital provider that we bring to the table, we have an agreement with them to manage the ongoing maintenance of the asset to make sure it stays in a state of good repair and efficient and working. And for that, we get from the SPV an 80 basis point annual management fee. So it's very, it's a longer term revenue stream that frankly is incumbent on us to make sure that the asset stays in a state of good repair. And as we continue to get more and more customers and more success stories, our, the SP mantra is that, we're not trying to extract margin off of a customer. We're in this for the long term. So the more assets we can have under management, that's how Sustainability Partners makes its profit over the long term.
Yeah, because it's like they're not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. You got to make $1 someplace.
but lots of people on Wall Street and other places say that we should be doing this for a lot more money than we do it for. So we're not really in that for that purpose. We're trying to find a way to replace aging infrastructure across this country because it's very difficult. There's no reason why a municipality like Yorktown should have to worry about its sewers or the clean water it delivers. Which is the same way you don't worry about your electricity or your gas. These things are utilities. You should be taking your taxpayer dollars and using them on people and programs and other kinds of services. And we're trying to get people to the place where infrastructure is a utility. You pay for its use. You don't pay for its, expense and its costs and the capital of it. So that's kind of what we're trying to do for the longer term, which is why I'm so interested in helping sustainability succeed and why I'm part of the board.
And my last question, I guess, is that this is for 25 years. This would be a contract for 25 years, or would it be a
20 or 25 years?
Yeah, we could do.
Yeah, keep in mind that's the
20. Doesn't matter. We could do 20. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right, it's the expected useful life. We try to match the payment stream up to the expected useful life of the assets, but keep in mind that it's meant to be almost a perpetual utility agreement. So if the assets last 28 years, that fee would stay at $5.30 would be over 28 years. If it lasts less than that, we would replace the assets and then that same utility rate would continue forward. So essentially, we're structuring this as a long-term agreement with the town so that they don't have to worry about replacing the infrastructure of their assets. Again, as we talked about earlier, they maintain that 30-day optionality so that if in the event the town does want to own the assets at some point uncertain down in the future, there's that optionality. But we're hoping that as we build this long-term relationship, that the service and the quality of the equipment and the way that we maintain it on behalf of the town enables us to continue on the long-term relationship.
Yeah, we had this morning, and I don't want to belabor this, but we had this morning the lieutenant governor for Louisiana was on the phone, and the mayor of Simsport, who, we started out doing a very small water project for them just to sort of prove the viability of Sustainability Partners. They were in a difficult financial condition. Once they saw how that worked, they turned around and they asked us to do their water treatment, right, Jason? And then continue to walk down the road to give us more and more infrastructure projects for them. They were just named the #1 financial municipality in Louisiana because of the work that they did with Sustainability Partners. So we're in this for the long term, and we're trying to help remove those burdens off the shoulders of taxpayers of that infrastructure they have to support.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you. We really appreciate your time. I know that we ran late, but this was a very exciting presentation, I think, for the town and for the board and for the future viability of our water department. So just to again, put a fine point on it. The next step, if the board was so inclined, would be to
authorize you to sign the
MSA, so that they can continue with their with a more finite study and come back to the board with more detailed figures as to what the benefits would be in engaging in this program. So that is something that the board will consider. And again, we want to thank sustainability partners and your entire team, because you've got quite a few on here, for spending your evenings with us.
Thank you, Supervisor. And if you want, we can send right at this very moment the PowerPoint to all the town board members if you wanted.
I circulated the PowerPoint that you sent over, so they have it. But
great, okay.
Any other documentation that you want to send over, by all means, please do, and we'll circulate it to the board and to the necessary department heads.
Great, thank you, and thank you, board, and thank you all.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Francis.
Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Okay, so we're gonna keep talking water, and Kenny Rundle, you're not allowed to go anywhere.
I'm here.
You're not allowed to go anywhere. I'm going to ask Pat Caparella to say we're going to welcome Michael Quinn, our town engineer, to provide an update on our fluoride project. Mr. Quinn, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, board members.
Good evening, Michael.
So I know Ken Rundle's on the line here, and also Vanessa McPherson from Arcadis is joining us tonight. And we wanted to walk you through a couple of issues that have arisen on the fluoride project. Vanessa actually has a very short video of the current site conditions. To just give you a quick recall, the contractors started mobilizing in October and November. They did demo at the project site, and that's where we ran into a couple of issues that are going to cost some additional money. So Vanessa, I think you're going to walk us through some of the details about the extras, and then we have a summary sheet we could put up with the cost impacts.
Yep, absolutely. And thank you all for your time this evening and allowing us to give you this update. So even to take it maybe a step back further from where Mike started, I think the planning to resume fluoridation of the town of Yorktown's Catskill source of supply began several years ago at this point. And the project at its concept level looks very different than the project that we're currently implementing today. So just wanted to keep in mind for everyone that the basis of the grant, which is really the heart of this project, was for a different project, but something that we always have been striving to stay within the constraints of that budget. And I am going to attempt to share my screen here to show you guys a video. This is a video. Can everyone see this playing? Yeah. Okay, great. So I took this video on site. This is sort of where we're at right now. So the project changed from its concept level where we would be putting in a brand new building to one where we're attempting to reuse the what's called the Catherine Street pump station. So Yorktown previously used this facility to draw water from the Catskill Aqueduct directly and pump it into the 24-inch transmission main. So this is the condition of the Catherine Street facility. And we knew coming into this that Catherine Street was not in great shape, but we worked really hard to come up with a stabilization approach for the building. So what I'm showing you here is a long longitudinal crack in the CMU. The building construction is basically a cast-in-place concrete knee wall with a concrete masonry unit or CMU wall built on top of that. And again, coming into this project, our goal was to grout solid every cell of that CMU wall to stabilize the walls and put on a new roof. When we took the roof off the building, it became apparent that the grouting of the CMU cavities was attempted but not done successfully. And basically, in essence, some cells are grouted and some cells are not. So our goal of doing a full-on rehab and grouting every single cell kind of stopped right there in its tracks, because since it's a partial job, we really can't do a good job now without maybe drilling into every single block cavity and injecting grout, which is not something that we want to get into. And that made us start to say, well, wait a minute, how much would it cost at this point to just replace that CMU, right? We're doing this project, we want to do it right. So we asked the contractor to give us 2 different prices on the CMU replacement. And let me stop my video because that's probably boring. And I'm bringing up our contract change order summary. Can everyone see that now on the screen? Okay.
Yes.
So PCOs 1 and 2 that I'm highlighting. 1 is a credit for the masonry repair work that would no longer be required, right? So there's work in the contract that the contractor bought that would have been grouting and reinforcing all the CMU that they would no longer have to do if they outright replace those walls. So we would take a credit for that work, and that's rolled into the cost for this PCO 2, which is demolish and replace the walls. At a cost of about $36,000. And we also asked for a price. Arcadis came up with a detail that would be stabilizing the walls. And if I can go back in this video, I can show you better than describing what I mean. So if you can everyone see my cursor?
Yep.
Okay, so this is that cast in place concrete wall that I described with the CMU wall on top of it. We're looking at a penetration into the inside of the building. Sure. So we came up with a concept where you would basically place concrete formwork. There's a little ledge here that's about 3 or 4 inches wide. So put up some plywood formwork and pour a reinforcing wall inside all of these walls. So that was the rehabilitate option alternative that we came up with. And the cost of that was about $48,000. So it was more costly to do a repair than an outright replacement of these walls, which is why we would be recommending authorization of the wall replacement as part of the contract work. And I can pause there if there are questions before we get into the details of the other items, or I'd be happy to just provide an overall summary and then open it up for questions, whatever the board prefers.
Vanessa, that cast in place wall, is that at this point no good? Can it be built off of? Is that footing good?
We believe that the foundation, the base slab, and the cast in place foundation walls are in excellent condition. We have no reason to believe that those are suspect or in need of further attention. It's the CMU that is really the issue.
So it's just the concrete block that's basically deteriorated over the years.
That's correct.
May I ask a question? Because I'm a little confused. You said the concept changed over the years. Can you explain that to me?
Certainly. So the basis of our design initially, I believe it was in 2016, and Mike and Kenny can probably keep me honest on the dates, but we initially were looking at, I'm sorry, Mike.
We applied for the grant in 2016 and we got the award in 2017, early 2017.
So that project that we initially proposed on would be a brand new facility that would be located near Cortland Lanes in the town of Cortland. And it became apparent, so we would be looking at a prefabricated structure that would be dosing fluoride at an interconnection point that Northern Westchester Joint Waterworks had recently put in or was proposing. I don't know that they actually ever finished it. And then as we discussed the project more and more with the Joint Waterworks, it became apparent that there are certain users, Yorktown is one user that doses fluoride. Not all of the recipients of water from the Joint Waterworks do fluoridate. So that location was no longer an option based on the operations of the Joint Waterworks. So that's when we started to look for a location within Yorktown where we could dose.
But when you decided to look at this building, or what's left of this building, I think it's obvious that it's in a big state of disrepair.
So we did a couple of things. We did hazardous materials testing because that was our biggest concern initially. Is that if we started to tear down the roof and pull out equipment, that we'd be opening up a Pandora's box of just remediation. So we did a thorough investigation on the hazardous materials, and honestly, had an attempt not have been made previously, I guess during the initial construction of the building, to grout inside those cells, which based on every investigation that we did during design did not appear to be the case, probably because we were looking at such an inconsistent job that was done. Our approach would have been great. We would have been still going along without a hitch, right? Because we had angle iron repair details for stitching together cracks. We had, surfacing repairs. So this interior, the fact that we can't properly reinforce the insides of these walls now is really what threw us for a loop here.
Okay.
I have a question. Mike, may I ask?
No, let me finish mine.
Mike, how many board members have seen inside? How many visited? I want to ask the question.
Can Councilwoman Roker just finish? Because she wasn't done.
No, but this is the question for the entire board. I want to know it now. How many people have seen that?
I have been there. All right. Now, Alice, please continue.
Okay, thank you.
My question was, I didn't come in until a little late, until after the grant was applied for. But my question to you now, Michael, is that you come back to the board and talk about this, the fact that you couldn't build it where you thought you were going to build it, and that it's probably going to cost more money because we're going to go into this older building.
So, Al's the engineering report.
Okay.
So the engineering report was based on a location in the town of Portland. That report was then used as the basis for an application for construction funds, which we did receive.
I got that.
And after we received that award, there was discussion with the board because we had to modify the engineering report to, for the health department approvals to match the new location that we were choosing.
Okay.
Now, the timing, I don't know, this was probably like sometime in 2017, but, I'd have to go back. And then certainly when we put together the bid documents, that was all based on using the Catherine Street location.
Okay, thank you.
I find it suspect that this particular type of deterioration wasn't found early on. I mean, where we would have had an upfront knowledge of this, so that things could have been put into place. Maybe knock the whole thing down and put a prefab in there, which would probably cost you about $100,000. In my experience, I have found that when you start fixing masonry that's already cracked, whether you're filling the pockets in the block or whatever the case might be, for whatever reason, they cracked, whether it was settling or if water got in there to begin with and split apart. Now, engineering firms should be able to see this and say, this building's no damn good. All right, it's got to come down. Period. The end. The part about pinning and I know all about that, but there's a problem with that building, and it should have been brought forward from the beginning. And have we put money into this roof yet already, or is that roof completely still off?
The roof is off the building.
Right. Okay. Because I know that there was some talk about just redoing the roof and putting the roof back on. I haven't been by it in quite some time now, but yeah,
I wouldn't recommend that given the condition. Without doing any stabilization, I wouldn't put a roof on that building.
I guess my question is, why wasn't this seen from the get-go?
The issue is really that we can't see inside the blocks, right? I think all of the exterior repairs that you just discussed, the cracks, the spall on the outside of the block, the things that we could see, we had a solid way to address in the contract. And I brought up just one of the contract drawings to show you the grouting and the reinforcing. The fact that we did some test holes and the cells were hollow during design was really what drove us into the direction that a building stabilization would be possible at that time, to the best of our knowledge, right? Not being able to see inside every single grouted cavity, to know that that was done inconsistently. There was nothing on any of the record drawings that would have indicated one way or the other if it was done.
So now that we've gotten into this, now all of a sudden we have this issue that has come up, and this plan isn't going to work. Why? If you know, you say I build for a living, okay, so I know what I'm talking about a little bit. You have these block here that are not filled or not solid. A two-pound lump hammer can go through them. You can say, hey, look, we got a problem here, and then fill it in. You're going to have to explain further on why this can't be repaired. It's going to cost us another $70,000, because I don't see it.
Well, I think that was my point of, you know, we have been working with the general contractor on all of the different options that are available to us. I mean, they certainly could hit every single one of the cavities on every single block and evaluate if there's grout in it or not. And if not, grout it. But I wouldn't say definitively that, first of all, labor-wise, I mean, you would know, Councilman Diana, I'm sure that would be a very laborious process, right? And I think that the end result would not guarantee you a building that's going to last another 50 years. So when we were looking at this from a perspective of longevity and what the best solution was, that's why we did ask for cost for various options, be it, you know, rehabilitation or an outright replacement, and then just weighing what those ultimate costs were, and to say, you know, it didn't seem to make logical sense. And that's why we do want to discuss this with the board today and get opinions on it, of course, but it seemed like the best course of action, no pun intended, but would be to just replace the blocks versus trying to put a Band-Aid on a problem that is just way beyond what we ever would have thought was.
But I guess my question is at what point did we realize that this building was shot?
I think the definitive moment for me was when the roof came off, and we looked inside of the blocks from the top down.
You weren't able to get into the building before then?
We were inside the building, we were outside the building, all around the building. It was just very difficult with the roof on to see what the condition was inside the blocks until the roof was removed.
Vanessa, how long ago did that roof come off? I'm sorry.
I would say it's been about a month, maybe a little bit longer. I'd have to look back at the progress photos, but that's probably about accurate. Kenny, Mike, I don't know if you.
Yeah, it was last month. It's been about a month.
So basically what we're saying is that, from what I can see, is that possibly the roof leaked. The water got in between, went down into the cavities of the blocks, and that's where your cracking started. And people had tried to either stucco or whatever the cracks up so that they were weather tight, I guess, at some point. Am I on the right track here?
I think it's really two issues, right? The cracks are one issue.
Okay.
And whether or not somebody attempted to repair those, I have no idea. I think water getting in probably exacerbated those cracks. But the crux of it is really the interior CMU block grouting and reinforcement, which was done as a partial job at the time of building construction, and there was no record of that. So what we thought was a hollow block that we could grout solid and make that wall consistent and robust all the way throughout turned out not to be the case.
I don't know. This seems to me that this could have been picked up a lot earlier on. We could have made a more informed and possible and monetary decision early on. This, $70,000, and we've already added to that 900,000 plus for this project.
Is that the total? No, it's not. What's the total compared to what the grant is? I think that's what we need to understand.
Okay.
So far, you have transfers of 1,078,470.
Yeah.
Yes.
This would add another 70 on top of that. So we're really looking at 1.1.
But they haven't finished the building. So
I mean, that's my other question, Vanessa. Do you foresee any other issues like this coming back? I mean,
sorry, please finish. No, I apologize.
No, please. That's what I want to know.
I've tried to capture everything that we're aware of at this time in this list that I've brought back up again. So the 70,000 number that's been cited is everything that we're aware of at this time. We are probably about 30 to 40% through the project, we'd estimate at this point. So something else major coming up, while of course it's possible. I mean, it's construction, unforeseen conditions, but I wouldn't predict that we'd have any other major changes moving forward beyond what's presented on this list. So PCOs 3 and 4 are really related to bid alternate work that was not awarded at the time of bid. And I can walk through those in more detail, and then some structural changes to the roof framing that's part of the building stabilization. But other than that, there would be nothing else major that we would envision to complete the project.
I'm the new guy on the project. Why wasn't it awarded as part of the bid?
Mike, do you want to talk about that? The history on the bid alternates?
Well, the bid alternates, we put bid alternates. There's 3 bid alternates in the project. And we did that so we'd have some flexibility on making an award of the bid. One of the alternates was a metering chamber that the health department had asked for during design, that we knew would be very expensive to put into the project. And so we elected to put that as an add alternate so we could get the prices. And then, if we wanted to go back to the health department and say, hey, we wouldn't be able to do the job with this alternate. And it was on the order of $270,000 is what the bid price came in at for add alternate A.
Thankful not to see that on here.
This Catherine Street property is actually DEP owned land,
right.
And it's a town of Yorktown building on the property. So, they've been updating their permits, the land use permits, and they had approached the town and said, hey, when we want to update the land use permit at this, but there is an old connection to the aqueduct that has to be removed, and so we said that that's certainly not part of a fluoride project, that we would bid that as an add alternate. And I don't know if you recall, Supervisor Slater, but we I guess it was a few. I'm looking for the resolution, but we recently, Ken Rundle and I had spoken to the board about that, about removing the Catskill piping with some other funds from the water budget. And that's where it says on that last column, town board approved $19,500. So that was a bid alternate from the contractor. Now, after we spoke to the contractor and we went back to the DEP about how the work was going to be done, we actually did find some savings. And so that's why, although the award was at $19,500, because that was the bid alternate price, we actually were able to bring that in, at a lower price. So we did have a net savings on that item.
Hey, Pat, where are we at again with this money for this project?
Transfers are 1,078,000.
And what was the total for I don't remember off the top of my head. Total for grant was 9.
901-050.
Vanessa, can I ask you a question before we go any farther? I just procedurally, when you design a project and it goes out to wherever for grant funding, and you come back with a price, and then you realize that that project's got to change. At any point, are we able to go back to New York State and say, hey, our project changed and it's now going to cost us more money?
That's an excellent question, and we did go through that process. Mike and his team led that coordination with the state, and Mike, you can speak to that better than I can.
Okay.
So, Alice, we did speak to the health department. This is the New York State Health Department that awarded this project.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, when the bid prices came in higher than our award, we spoke to the health department, and they said there's absolutely no opportunity for that amount to be increased. So we went back to the board at the time of award, which I guess goes back to December 2019. And, the board had to decide to award with using some town funds to get the project done, or not to proceed with an award. Or we could have gone, I guess we could have tried to rebid the job, and even though we didn't really see too many things that could have been changed, but and we had a lot of bids also for this project.
I guess you're saying I should have asked more questions when you brought that before the board in 2019. I should have said, okay, let's go through the whole history of this document. Okay, I know what to do from now on.
Pat, can you verify? One thing I want to add to this discussion, we do have, Vanessa, right, there is an allowance in the contract for some extra work items.
That's correct.
So we do have $30,000 that's in the contract amount that we just quoted, roughly for both contracts, for the GC general contract and electrical. Both awards together is $850,000, and so that does include $30,000 for some field conditions that can arise on a project. And none of those funds have been spent yet.
Pat?
Yes.
Is my math right though? By adding the $70,338, we're now out of pocket $247,000. Is that accurate? Between what the grant was versus the actual bid, now the addition?
$247,358.
Yep. Okay. I just wanted to make sure my math was right.
Absolutely.
All right. What do we have in this project so far? I'm sorry, Matt.
No, we're in this project. We're out of pocket $247,000, and that comes out of the water project.
And they don't have any money.
That's where I'm starting to get nervous here, quite frankly, because they're very limited. We know structurally, from a financial standpoint, they've got issues. So, is this $70,338? I'm guessing is coming out of water. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, that's where it would have to come out of.
Hey, Pat.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Sure, Kenny.
So, but if there's 30,000 built in for extras, can we use that 30,000 and then we have to try to find 40,000?
That was my question. I didn't know anything about it until Michael Quinn just mentioned it now. I don't have a copy of the contracts here with me. I don't know how much of a detailed contract I have, but I don't know. Can it be offset?
Yes, it can be. That the $30,000 is intended for, which I guess is roughly 5% of the contract amount. For small things that can happen on a project.
Cost overrun is about 5 or 10%.
That can be applied to this number.
Vanessa, how far are we to completion?
I would say that we're roughly 30% through. I mean, we've mobilized to the site and obviously done demo. Both contractors are well in the midst of submittal of equipment documentation to us for approval and authorization. So they're basically procuring materials at this point and waiting for direction on how we want to proceed with any of the building stabilization work.
Okay, my only concern is that we are only 30% of the way through this project, and I'm fearful if we use the $30,000 now, what could we encounter as we move forward?
I mean, either way, well, I shouldn't say that. If you have to tap into the $30,000, would you come back to the board?
I'm sorry, Matt?
You have $30,000 of extras. Would you come back to the board first before spending it?
Yes.
Either way, they come back. Whether we spend it now or we spend it
All right,
later.
whatever.
If I may, Pat, how much are we into this for right now?
Okay, so far I'm in, give me 1 second. About 192,000.
192,000. Okay. And have we gotten anything back yet on this grant? Because this was a matching grant, so to speak, right?
Well, this is a grant that 100% of the 901,050 would get returned to the town.
Right.
As we expend it, we submit reimbursement to the state, and then we get reimbursed.
Okay. How much have we been reimbursed so far?
I have 137,000, Tommy.
137 that we've gotten back?
Yes.
All right. So we're out 60 grand basically right now. Not out, but all right. We're going to have a discussion about this because like we say, we don't know where this is going to go. We only have an idea.
It has to go.
I think the whole project has to go.
No, it has to be succeeded. Let's do the fundraising. We always talk about the fundraising. Let's start it now, right now, The health is wealth.
I got to be honest with you. I haven't been a proponent of this project since day one. I'm still not, and it's not proving to be any kind of a winner in my eye.
The health is
even with the grant. We only had one dentist come in and talk to us about it. Very knowledgeable gentleman. But you know something? We're gonna have to have a discussion about this, I think, because I'm seeing more than $30,000 that we had put in here for cost overrun. Usually somewhere between 5 and 10%, I would say, is a generous cost overrun for this type of project. But we've already, what was it, Pat? 192? Where was it? I wrote it.
What's that for? How much we've spent so far?
Yeah.
Yes.
That we and extras that we spend in this.
We spent 192, but we got reimbursed 137.
137. Yeah.
Tommy, I will say that when we did the public hearing on fluoride, we had every dentist who works or lives in Yorktown at town hall, including the
commissioner
of the health department.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Cortland doesn't have it.
No.
There's Putnam Valley doesn't have it. Most of theirs as well. A lot of people around don't have it.
I know.
And I don't see people's teeth falling out of their heads, but then again, I'm not a dentist. So, but that's a discussion for another avenue. But I don't think, I tell you, I'm not happy with the way we've been advised on this project.
Yeah.
Not happy at all.
Tommy, I tend to agree. Right now, when this was first brought to us, it was we're going to be reimbursed for everything.
Yep.
Now with these new overruns, Pat, am I correct in saying we're almost $250,000 out of pocket at the end of the day?
Altogether, yes, I have about 248,000. So you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
That's a far cry from a break-even type of scenario.
Yeah. even if it was $20,000 or $30,000, you understand that in cost overruns in construction. But you know, when it comes up to be, you know, or I should say between 5 and 10% on a cost overrun. But this, I don't know.
Kenny, talk to me about your. I mean, I don't really think we need to, but how comfortable are you with the 70,000 coming out of your fund balance?
Yeah, with discussions with Pat, you know, our fund balance is getting down there. You know, I don't think that. I think it's something that we have to do. And am I excited about taking 70,000 out of the budget? Absolutely not. But I think, you know, with so much invested now, I think we have to keep going.
Yeah.
But that would, you know, that would be a decision the board would make. You know.
I get it, but you're our water superintendent.
No, and I get it, but I think to stop this construction right now, because of you know the block. I don't think it. Me personally, I don't think it makes sense to stop the project.
I agree with you that we're at a point where we're far into this project. But to stop it would be problematical.
But we don't have a nut and bolt in the place yet.
No, you don't.
We don't have a nut, a bolt, a pipe. Nothing is there. Nothing, not even a roof. Zero. We have soft costs basically and some tear down.
Well, I think, Michael, hopefully you're able to bill, you know, should we decide to do this, hopefully you're able to bill New York State so they can send back money and his fund balance won't be that depleted.
We can we can bill the state up to, you know, every month. So as we get these invoices processed, we will do that. I think right now we're billing quarterly. We reimburse. We're billing for reimbursement quarterly.
Well, I think that's got to change.
We can do that.
I agree. We can do that on a monthly basis.
Vanessa, thank you very much for coming tonight. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Vanessa.
No? All right, we're going to move on to our next item. This is the Tracer pre-application. We have a transitional zone. Tracer is one of gems of Yorktown, quite frankly, down off of Kitchewan Road. We're joined by Taylor Palmer and members of Tracer. I believe we have John Tegeter joining us, and as well as Robin Steinberg. They're going to be hanging out with us for a little bit now.
That's a town board action. How come we don't have the application?
They haven't submitted an application.
Okay.
Yet they wanted to come before the town board first.
Okay.
To have a
conversation. No, I agree.
Yep. Before they formally submitted the application. Taylor, do you want to take it away?
Please. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening. Again, Taylor Palmer with the law firm of Cuddy & Fader on behalf of the applicant. Thank you for meeting with us this evening and putting us on tonight's agenda. While we aren't proposing any fluoride repairs, we have heard that 4 of 5 doctors recommend Trident. We don't know what that 5th guy recommends. We'll leave that out of it for tonight. Tonight we are coming to you live from Tracer's office buildings. I'm actually in one of their large conference rooms. Steven Spiro, for social distancing, the president of Tracer, is in the FAR office. And Michael Katz is also joining us this evening as the applicants. Again, we appreciate your availability. As the supervisor mentioned, this is an informal pre-application submission discussion. We wanted to bring you all up to speed about operations here at Tracer. And we have, as you may know, and John and Robin are certainly familiar, we were recently before your board in 2017. So let me just give you a quick background. And while I'm presenting, Stephen, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen and putting up the Exhibit C that goes through the layout of the site plan to get the board acclimated with where we are on the site. So for the benefit of the board members, Stephen, let's see, yep, it's up there. And Steve, you'll just please scroll through that as we're going through my presentation. Yep. So until 2017, this property was formerly referred to as the Brooklyn Botanic Garden property and Kitchewan Institute. So you're all familiar with the Kitchewan Preserve. It's a 200-acre county park that's adjacent to the site. And this is a 14.7-acre property that was originally classified in the R1 200 zoning district. And then in 2017, the property was rezoned into the transitional district. It had been improved by the existing office building that I am in. And in a moment, before Stephen gives you a quick video just to show you the upgrades that Tracer has done to the property, it was used as an office building. There was existing parking areas, as well as a large greenhouse and storage building. And tonight, we are only before you to present minor changes to that same storage building that was previously proposed, but because of the transitional district zoning applied to the property, we're before this board in connection with some that minor amendment. So just for the benefit of those board members that weren't with us in 2017, some of the prior uses of the property included a research lab, not-for-profit office space, laboratories and conference rooms, and then also there was some publishing on the site. And one secret that was kept, it seems, there was a pharmaceutical research facility on the site and actually involved animal testing. There's been all environmental reviews and cleanup. It's been completely remediated. It's a beautiful site. We look forward when COVID's gone to bring you all to the property. There's amazing outdoor spaces. And Stephen actually recorded, Mr. Spiro recorded some video footage to show you just what we're working with. So as I mentioned, we're about 1.5 miles from IBM, and we're again right next to the Kitchewan Preserve. Access to the site is provided over a county easement. Actually, Mr. Rodriguez was very helpful and instrumental in his time with the county in working through the county's right of first refusal on the property, and actually encouraged the applicant to improve the access for the park users. So Mr. Spiro and Tracer actually very much improved. And Stephen, if you scroll towards the end of the exhibit, you'll see some of the improvements to the entryway to Kitchewan Preserve for the users of the park. So again, we were before this board for approval in 2017, where the town board included it into the transitional zone. So it was a zoning amendment and a site plan approval, which included a storage building. Since then, and as Stephen will now switch, please, to show Exhibit B, which is the old photos of the building. Sorry, Exhibit B. Just give Stephen a second. In the meantime, I'll loop you in. So Tracer's made significant updates to the site, including this office building, and as we mentioned, the entryway into the property. However, in preparing to construct the accessory storage building to the lower level of the property, which you're seeing right now, is actually the site plan, but that's fine. We'll use that. This is the foundation.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I apologize.
We rehearsed this much better earlier.
Did you say B?
There it is. Thank you. So Exhibit B, these are some of the interior photos of the old facility. We'd like to point out in the second picture there, you can see the tree growing through
inside yeah.
So significant modifications made by Tracer in investing in the town and investing in this property and really making it something that you wouldn't really know is it's a hidden gem. It really is, back hidden away behind, again, a county park, an entryway. And the way that this site is set up, when you all have an opportunity to coming into the site, you look at it from the entryway, it looks like a one-story building, but it does go down to a lower level, which would walk you out to the accessory building that we are before you. So in looking to construct that accessory building and Tracer's operations in light of the pandemic, the applicant has determined that the size of the structure was insufficient. We're proposing de minimis changes to that accessory structure. It's about a 0.3% increase in the coverage of the total building of the site. So it's about 900 to 1,000 square feet of building coverage. And there's minor changes to two setbacks, about 25 feet and 3 feet respectively. So with those changes, we will be appearing and submitting a full, as Councilwoman mentioned, a full application to your board for review. Again, tonight it's just to give you say hello and reintroduce ourselves and give you just a quick overview for the benefit of the board members that weren't here in 2017 for this change. So if the board sees fit, I'd like Stephen to give you, and now I apologize for all those of you who have seen the Blair Witch Project. The video is as stable as he can make it, but he's going to give you a quick ride through Tracer and show you the space as it was changed and upgraded today, and then to show you where, again, you saw briefly, we'll post the site plan up in a moment when we finish the conversation and finish the video, but that way you can get a sense of what Tracer's done, and they want to continue to invest in the community and grow their company here. So Stephen will give you a little bit of background about what Tracer does and what they do in the town of Yorktown.
Thank you, Taylor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight.
Hey, Steve.
Good evening, Steve.
How are you?
Hope you guys are all well. So again, I apologize. I shot this on my iPhone earlier today, so it's a little fast and it may be a little dizzying, but I tried to give just a quick kind of walk through Tracer. So let me kind of let me just give everyone a walkthrough. So this is the front of the building. There's some beautiful specimen trees that were left over from the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. I'm just going to pause right here. This is actually a Mongolian sequoia tree.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That was planted 80 years ago from some of the botanists from the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens who were able to germinate a seed from Mongolia, and apparently it's one of three in the area, and it's a real sequoia tree that we have in the area. So we've done a good job at trying to keep this really rare specimen trees that we have on the property thriving. And this is the front entrance of the building. Looks like we just received a FedEx package. So I'm going to walk through and introduce you to our lobby. We tried to keep the kind of mid-century modern feel, but we updated it. This kind of curvy lobby was here, but we updated it as an entrance to our building. We have an office for our finance team. This is a conference room that we love. We're constantly doing projects and meetings in here. Actually, this table, just to point out, because we're so proud of it, is a locust tree that, can you guys see me?
Yeah, no, we got you.
Yeah, beautiful.
So this is a locust tree that fell down on our property, and we found a place to kiln dry the wood for about 6 months, and we made this beautiful table out of it.
Wow.
We got the base from Etsy.com. But we love it here. There's a beautiful courtyard that was here, but we kind of modernized it, and oftentimes during the summer we'll have barbecues out here and just kind of hang out, and it's really fun and really pretty space looking over the main part of the property. And then as we walk through the lobby, I'll just kind of show you the rest of the space. So this glass wall originally was a brick wall. We broke it down. There were some laboratories and offices in here, and we just kind of opened it up. So you have the courtyard to the left and another conference room, which will lead to the courtyard to the right. And then we're doing some work on the roof, which is why there's a ladder there. We had a beautiful garden this year out to the right, which the Corcoran family from Kitchewan Farms helped us with. Then we have a kind of a really nice open flex space for people to hang out and have a cup of coffee, very wide open, and kind of carried that green theme through the building. And then there was an existing kitchen that we cut in half, but the building came with this unbelievable stove that we cleaned up and we used quite a bit.
I love that stove.
And if you like coffee, you'll like Tracer, because we have 3 different coffee machines and we're highly caffeinated at all times.
Told them we need one for our office.
Yeah, exactly. So we love coffee and cooking, so we're often cooking and drinking coffee. This is another view of the courtyard from here. That table was also built from the same wood that fell on our property. This is another office. This is our chief product officer, Jim, who really likes ketchup. And then kind of walking through the rest of the space, this area, that's our accounting office. That's where Kathy sits. She's been home since the beginning of COVID just because of she has some pre-existing conditions. So she works remotely and she's doing a great job doing that. but we've enshrined her office. And then we kind of put up barriers between all the seating areas, but it's an open pit. This is where our direct-to-consumer division sits. This is our engineering desk. They love when I walk by and videotape them.
Sure.
And this is where they're constantly developing prototypes and 3D printers. Sorry for the fast movement. Taylor said I had 6 minutes to do a video. I think I have it in 7 minutes. So you see we have humidification throughout the building. We heard that that was good to eliminate COVID, and COVID doesn't like humid environments. So we're trying to keep the relative humidity up to over 35% at all times. I sprained my ankle, so it's a little hard for me to get down the stairs, but I managed to get down. And you'll see we have these stations all over. I don't know if you can make it out, but we have gloves and hand sanitizer all over. And we take this very seriously, as I know all of you have. And as we go into our production area, this is the downstairs. So we were upstairs on the first part of the video, and now we're downstairs. It's above level because the property pitches downward towards the back of the building. So this is kind of our clean room in that we just filter the air a lot. We want to try and mitigate dust. This is a robotic machine that, move back to that for a sec, that we actually built ourselves. And it perfectly places a lenticular lens over a photograph. We oftentimes will build all of our own automation. We have a bunch of engineers that work full time for our company. Matt, that's Tom, who's a big Jet fan. And this is where we do all of our direct-to-consumer photo printing. So we do a lot of wall decor that we sell through Walgreens, and these photographs that are printed on these printers will find their way into a frame, and we'll ship it direct-to-consumer using UPS, FedEx. These are parts of the frames that are made in Kentucky for us, and we do the final insertion of the photograph here in our facility, and we ship direct-to-consumer. And then finally, we have large format printing, which we print using a inkjet large format printer that we can print up to 4 feet by 8 feet. This is also direct to consumer, but we deal mostly with artists. So we love the art world, and we do fine art printing in our facility. This is our shipping and receiving department. You can see that we're really jammed up. And when we first moved into the building, we were like, oh my gosh, this is so much space. We'll never fill it up. And now we're quite full, which is why we want to build this accessory building. We are already renting storage in north of here near the BJ's. There's a storage facility behind BJ's. So we rent 4 storage lockers there, and you literally can't walk into them. They're full. So this is the outdoor area. So we're on the basement level, but as you can see, it opens up onto the ground floor because the building wraps around. And this area here is the former greenhouse for the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. And this is the area that we're proposing building our accessory building. So I think in the video, I kind of walk out there. That's the back of the building. Okay. And then let me just pause here. Let me see if I get a better angle. So those red flags I put in the ground just to kind of represent the outer line of what we've proposed. Okay. So you can kind of get a visual. We're obviously going to be excavating this old area here. And so the the sight line from the building, first of all, is covered by this berm here. So the backside of the building is highly covered by this berm. And I think I even zoomed into it. Obviously, this time of year, there is one house that does have a sight line to the property, and we want to plant more trees to kind of give some shade to that. Sure. And you can kind of see the edge of what we're proposing of the building. And so that building would be attached to the existing building. The accessory building would be attached a little bit left of here. And then I continue on to just kind of walk around the property. I don't know if you care to see this, but it's beautiful property.
It is.
There's 14 acres, and we often will see a lot of wildlife. We actually saw a bear about 6 months ago, but we've still obviously a lot of deer, coyote, bunch of fox. Fortunately, a skunk likes to hang out in our area. So this is another view of the courtyard. You can see the guys working on the roof. So it's just really pretty popular. What? I'm sorry, ma'am. What was that?
Will the berm cause you any problems when you add the additional space?
Will it get in the way of the?
Yeah.
No, it's sorry for the zooming. No, we're going to end the building here, right at the cinder block.
Okay. Got it.
So there's still a whole lot of property. That's probably, I don't know. I know it's deceiving, but it's probably 100 feet or 120 feet. So, I mean, the reason I brought it up is it just adds protection and adds a blockage for the visual sight line.
Bushwalk Road goes sort of, it kind of with the bend there, so it runs around, so it is screened in that direction.
I know where that site is, and it's beautiful.
So we're only seeking, again, this accessory building was approved by the town board previously, but because of the both tables that are applied to both the approval resolution for the site plan and for the rezoning, it does require amendments to both components. So we will be submitting a formal application, but we wanted to see if the board certainly had any questions before we made that application. And of course, appreciate you all taking the time this evening. And thank you, Mr. Spiro, for that tour.
Is it going to be single story or a 2-story?
It's going to be 20 feet. Is it 2 stories, Stephen?
No, it's single story, but we do have a mezzanine,
right?
Which is just going to be for storage, but it's a single story building.
Stephen, actually, would you just bring the site plan up just so we?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We haven't posted that up, which again we'll submit formal copies of. We have provided and had just a preliminary discussion with Rob and John leading into this. That is just the actual site plan itself, and it should be sheet 2, Stephen.
Yeah.
So that's sheet 1. There it is, sheet 2.
All right. Can I say something, guys? You should put the address, next to your tracer pre-application. I'm the only one who is speaking now. Been to their place before you were there, okay? In 1973, we used to go there and walk, okay? Such a beautiful place, really, wonderful place.
So you were here when the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens was here?
Yes, I've been to the Botanical Garden in 1970. We used to walk all the time from IBM there, the whole bunch of guys. Such a beautiful,
It is.
And I know all the neighbors still who they are around there, Very nice.
Yeah,
this will be the
work with the neighbors.
Maybe something in a newspaper about your artwork, printing, somehow. It's really nice,
Thank you.
To see what we have in our town.
I was just going to say, could you just quickly and briefly just let people know some of the work that you're doing there and some of the clients that you have? Because I don't think people realize that we have such a prominent business in the town of Yorktown. I know obviously Diana does since she lives down the street, but why don't you share that briefly if you could?
Sure. So predominantly, most of our revenue comes from production that we do down in Kentucky, down in the Lexington area, where we have harvested poplar trees that are farmed, and it literally is a crop. We take down one tree, we plant 3. And it's a very green wood, but we make picture frames and canvas frames, and we sell them primarily to Walgreens and CVS. We sell about 5 million frames a year.
Wow.
And We don't do that production here in New York, but we manage it from New York, and all of the R&D comes from our facility in New York. What we are doing in New York is launching a direct-to-consumer business, a product called Tile Picks that is a square 8-inch frame that hangs on your wall magnetically. And the whole concept is you make a gallery wall. So you put 5 rows of 5 columns, and what the magnet does, it allows you to perfectly adjust the frame on the wall. We're competing with an Israeli-based company called Mix Styles, who did $73 million in revenue last year, 2019. We think we have a significantly better product in many ways, and it took 60 months for them to get to $73 million. We want to do double the revenue in half the time, and we want to do that all in this Yorktown facility.
Awesome.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's just a group of, geeky engineers like myself that develop fun, cool products for consumers. Most of our stuff goes on the walls, and our pet project is we love working with artists. So we sponsor artists. We work with them. Oftentimes we print for free, and we love doing large format printing for art students. We had many of the local high schools here at the beginning of COVID and before COVID doing art projects. We work with SUNY Purchase Art School doing projects. We do it all for free. And if I could toot my own horn for 1 second, I think the thing I'm most proud of is we had in our inventory 300,000 sheets of clear plastic that we didn't know what to do with, and we ended up creating face shields, and we donated all of them.
Oh my God, that's great.
State of New York and a lot of senior care facilities. We donated to the Yorktown Police Department and almost every police department, and then Phelps Hospital and White Plains Hospital. So we're really proud of that. I think it's the thing that all of us who work here are probably the most proud of.
Great.
Very nice.
The pandemic.
Very nice.
So we're happy to be part of the town, and we want to continue to grow here.
So I'm just looking at the existing ruins facing east. That's basically, I know it's going to be expanded a little bit. Basically where the gable end will be, such as on this west elevation, and going towards the flat roof building.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
You can see the white doors in that top right picture. That's essentially where it comes into the building. It doesn't go the building will go just past those doors, but that comes into the structure.
Right, and it will have a gable roof that will attach to the top side of the brown, the black windows, I guess, where the black windows are. Is that what?
Rick, you're correct. It does not show that way today. It has been painted. So those images that are on there were from the original site plan. So if we have good pictures, we'll likely swap those out just so that they're consistent with what's on the building today. But yes, that was to help soften and make it less visible than the existing conditions. So the black was to help, again, add further reduction of visibility from any vantage point.
I have a question. Can I talk to John? John, do you foresee any problems here?
No, I don't foresee any problems, especially since the greenhouse was in that area. It's already a cleared area, so I don't anticipate any problems.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
All right. Steve, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much. Have a great
day. Have a good night.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. We're going to go on to Robin Steinberg, John Tegeter from our planning department, introduce our first round of design districts.
You guys did a good job.
Robin,
wow.
Take it away. This is
so. Yeah, so just last month, you adopted what we were calling kind of the umbrella part of this legislation, which goes from the beginning at 300-248 and goes down to 254, I believe it is. And what we're showing you tonight is the two districts that we are pushing forward at first, which is Yorktown Heights. And we are also working on the Lake Osceola Design District area.
Yep.
I want to just, before I go on to that, tell you that we are also continue to look at the original legislation that you did last month, just to make sure that as we go and we find things that we didn't recognize before, that we are making this law work as well as we can when we actually put it into effect. So in that body, you will find some red text that shows some of the very minor at this point modifications that we're proposing. But in terms of the first two design districts, if you start at 300-255, which is Yorktown Heights Planned Design District, I'll just go through it very broadly. And let me just stop a second and let you know that I wanted to bring this to you so that you have it. It is important, and I think that you need to have your thumb on the pulse of this as we go through. So I wanted to bring it to you so you know the direction and the tone and tenor of what we've been working on. So that's my aim here. So you get in the know in that, and afterwards, happy to work with you guys collectively or individually as we go through it after you start to look at it and read through it and develop some of your questions that you might. But the first thing in Yorktown Heights, you'll see that we list some of the objectives, which is to phase out incompatible uses, non-conforming uses. One of the big ones is construction of attractive building facades along Commerce Street, Downing Drive, Veterans Road, etc. We want to add in complete street design, which emphasizes pedestrian friendly and pedestrian connectivity. We need more of that in Yorktown and our other hamlets, to be clear. Creation of off-street parking lots for shared parking between adjacent and adjoining principal uses. Enhanced street access, building design, landscaping, buffering, and so forth. And development of multifamily residential uses, not to exceed 3 stories, and the creation of mixed-use spaces that can include live workspace and other professional offices and residences. Then it goes on to permitted main uses, and of course, the permitted main uses in the underlying zone remain. We are proposing to add in mixed-use developments, multifamily and townhouse-style residential development, and live-work unit developments that we spoke about before. Of course, stores and shops for retail business, and that paragraph number 5 is lifted directly out of our C2 commercial district. Number 6 is governmental buildings and uses, and number 7 and last at present is community-based uses for senior citizens. What we do then is we list permitted uses by special permit, permitted accessory uses by special permit, which I don't want to go into, but they're basically everything that's allowed in the underlying zones with some additions, very minor additions at present.
Right.
Then we go into area and bulk regulations for the planned design district. Now, you will recall that in the part of the law, the front end part of the law that you adopted last month, the zoning requirements, the bulk requirements, setbacks, area requirements in this design district, the planning board will be able to modify those. We are, for the Yorktown Heights, adding to that by these 3, or I should say the 2 things that you see here, which is that the FER shall be allowed up to, but may not exceed 0.55%. In other words, cap. Right now on residential uses, in the R3, it's 0.23 FAR with ancillary requirements. In the R3A, just as an example, which is the old urban renewal multifamily, it was 0.35. And I think that's what the Underhill Apartments was likely built under, although I haven't done the math on that. And then we have the maximum height of the building shall be 40 feet and may not exceed 3 stories. So in the front end of the law, you gave the flexibility, but in Yorktown Heights, we're adding some limits here. That flexibility is what this does. So those are things that I think I recommend that you think about. They'll be part of any discussions. I believe they are important, but those are what we're proposing at present. And these are actually caps. And then it goes into a number or a long litany of design requirements, which is part of the importance of doing this design district. For instance, we ask that there's no prefabricated metal siding, no drive-it, which is fake stucco, concrete block face building. So we're looking for higher quality design when we are allowing flexibility for the developer to modify some of the existing zoning in the area. So this is the give and take and the push and pull that we are trying to embed in the law. It does identify unique buildings. So we feel that there are some unique buildings in Yorktown, and it gives some requirements for that. In other words, we'd like to have them saved. We'd like to have them enhanced. We'd like their architecture to be enhanced. We do have a list of them, although the list has not populated in this yet, and I apologize for that, but we do have the list.
I would say, well, how do you categorize a unique building?
Unique design, historic quality, historic importance.
Okay.
So what comes to mind, the obvious one is the railroad station, but that's not under development pressure. But there is the Grace Building, I think, is something that has a nice quality to it. Absolutely. It really is a nice placeholder for what this town was and how it grew up. The Spadesha Building, the Coldwell Banker Building. I think there's the couple of the buildings that are on the corner of Keir Street, but are actually on Underhill Avenue. Although they are largely have been modified, I think that they are also nice placeholders. They do give you the flavor of what the town was at one time. Sure. The architecture is still there, but it's largely hidden. But I think that they may qualify to be part of the unique buildings. And also the town hall, obviously, is one of them. And the Soundview Beaver Conference Building, at least the main building, I would say, is a very important building. You know, there's buildings that we all know that are not unique in that regard, and we have seen some applications on them in the recent past, and we hope they continue. And we hope that this law actually spurs them to move a little quicker.
Okay.
Then it moves into signage. I don't want to get into the particulars of it, but we do mention and bring in the sign ordinance manual. So we're looking for high design values on that. And then it gives guidance in terms of site planning. It talks about access to the site and off-street parking. And then it goes into some of the things that you need to do to get through this process.
John, if I just interrupt, one of the things I really thought you did well on the site planning and design, because you and I have had these conversations about parking in the front versus the back.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about reversing the buildings so that the parking is on the back end, making it more walkable in the front end, but also so the buildings are up front of the main roads. And clearly that's what this tries to accomplish, right?
That's correct. And part of that reason is that you return, as I mentioned, the Keir Street buildings. They are close to the street. They're a little too close, which I will agree with. But if you have always a parking lot in front of a building, it really removes a little bit of the human scale to it.
Right.
So if you get some of the parking in the back, you get a little bit more of that human scale, human feel. And I think the interaction within the town is much more enjoyable and pleasurable. So those are the parts of the design values that we would be looking for.
Yep. Gotcha.
You know, when I first went to the WMOA meetings, one of the first speakers we had was the mayor of Carmel, Indiana. And he redid basically that town or city, I forget if it's a town or a city or not, with kind of what you're saying, is the parking in the back. And I was very interested in how he changed everything around to make the whole, I'm going to call it a town pop, where you could get to different places just by going through the different parking lots. You didn't have to go back out on the street and so on and so forth. So it it really worked out well. I know we're trying to do that in the Mohegan area through through Rich Cipriani's and oh geez, what's that fella's name that has the Verizon?
Mallon. Tim Mallon.
Tim Mallon and so forth there, which is a perfect segue to what we want to continue to do all the way up and take a lot of that traffic right off of Route 6.
That's exactly right, Tom. Exactly right. And then it moves on, starting 300-256 to Jefferson Valley Development Overlay Zone. You will see that there is a lot of blank spaces there because we are not finished with that. It will look and feel a lot like the Yorktown Heights one, but it will have some differences because it is a different area. If you read the first part of it, we are looking, dovetailing off what the comprehensive plan says, to sort of make that more of an area for recreation and kind of a family destination, you know, restaurants, leverage the natural resource of the lake, of course, leverage the fact that it is on two heavily trafficked roads or sandwiched between them. Not the best for retail necessarily, and retail is struggling, but certainly that area has a flavor which can, I think, support kind of an area for recreation and destination. I think the mall is part of that. The mall is a retail center, but it also it's a place where kids go, where families go. It's a little bit of their recreating. So I think that's what happens up there. And that's what this area will certainly, when we populate it, will have as its aim.
You know, that's an area that really needs a large infusion of money.
It does. And I think that our experience there over the years has been that many of the property owners are crying out to do something with their properties, but are stymied by partially because their return on investment that they would realize does not pay for some of the infrastructure that's required in order to keep that area reasonably, in with the proper amount of infrastructure.
You know, one of the issues that gentleman that we spoke to brought up was sewers.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Sewers is a big one.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he doesn't have sewers up there. So he's very limited on what he can actually do on that piece of property. John and I did a site visit up there a few weeks ago. And you know, it's definitely hurting the ability of these property owners to fully develop, to the fullest potential for that area.
Yeah, particularly they've got the small lots and they can't, and to develop it, they don't have enough space to put a new septic tank or whatever. So sewers has got to be the way they can go to redevelop.
Yeah, they have to get sewers there. Sewers, there was a design in the town for that area. It's definitely needed for the area. As you recall, the operators of the beach often had to close for a day or two at a time because of E. coli, which comes through the groundwater right down the hill from all the septic. So it's necessary. It's expensive, but hopefully this may help. I don't know that it's a panacea, but it may help us get closer to realizing that.
You know, but I think just looking at it and wanting to study it is really going to help us get closer to getting something for that area.
Yeah.
John, I know that you and Robin in your department have been working on some maps. In addition to Lake Osceola, Yorktown Heights, we've also identified Front Street as a potential. I know we haven't developed the Front Street language yet. Are you at a point today where you want to show some of the maps?
We can. I think Robin has them, right? You want to show them? We'll show you first Yorktown Heights and then Osceola.
Yeah, we have that one.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So, John, do you want to just walk us through this just quickly for the public?
Sure. So you're looking at Yorktown Heights, right smack dab in the middle. You can see the Kmart Shopping Center, which is the sort of funny pink.
Yeah.
And you, to the left of that, on the other side of 118, you can pick up the heavy black line, which is forming the design district boundary. And as you can see, that goes all the way up to the Downing Avenue or Downing Street intersection, and then it goes west. It pulls in the property that the Mangiero property that has the approval for the bank, but also properties behind it.
Right.
It pulls in the Cablevision property, and then it moves across 202 and pulls in the Roma building, the medical building, and the Wyant property. Then it moves down Commerce Street. It has everything sort of southwest. It passes the building that my office is in, and special buildings across Veterans Road from the AACCC all the way up to the old Mitchell Hardware building. Full of the firehouse, continues across and comes behind the Yorktown Commons, and then it goes down to Underhill, picks up the commercial area that begins Front Street. It has Yorktown Highway Garage in it and a couple of the buildings, the private buildings behind it. Then it moves across the the North County Trailway behind the Town Hall, moves across 118 and picks up the Soundview property and comes back to the point of beginning. You may want to consider putting in the Beaver Ridge, since we have just recently heard that you may be able to have a senior center there. So having it in this development district may help that process somewhat.
Do we also want to include, I agree with you, but do we also want to include, I don't know, I haven't had a conversation with them, but the Triangle Shopping Center?
That is a possibility because they have been working on some plans of late. So I wouldn't think that is, a bad idea whatsoever. They do own the two properties up on the hill from them, which is Maria's Pizza Building and one of the others there. No, I think just the Maria's Pizza Building.
Maria's Pizza. I think what they're going to develop over there is beautiful.
Yeah. So that is, and that is something that we were looking at and talking with them when we were looking only at Roma and Wyant together.
Right.
Certainly it's a candidate, without a doubt.
Do we want to reach out to the property owners to see if there's an interest there, or do we want to, how would you recommend that we proceed in something like that?
Well, I think that we know the managing partner.
Yep.
I can call Adam if you want me to.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's Yorktown Heights at present.
Great.
You want to look at all the ones that we were thinking about, or just the two that we have tonight?
With the legislation, so you got Yorktown Heights and then Jefferson Valley, right?
Valley, right. So let's.
Yeah.
One's Jefferson Valley, correct?
This is Jefferson Valley. So starting at the southwest corner of Hill Street, you can see that the old Lord's Jewelry Building, where Carvel is, and it goes behind those buildings all the way up Hill Street. Then it picks up and goes along the Route 6N East Main Street corridor, picking up the commercial and residential properties that front on that main roadway.
Yep.
All the way out to the intersection with Old Route 6 and Gomer Court, and moves all the way behind and picks up, believe it or not, Navajo Street and where the fields are, Navajo Fields. And then comes back down along the north side of Route 6 and picks up the rest of the district, including the lake.
John, where is the Hill property?
The Hill property is off this, that's it right there, all the way to the west.
Okay.
So you don't see the entire property on this map.
Okay.
And of course, you can consider other parts of this hamlet as well. So.
Great. Any questions from the board?
Well, we need a discussion at some other point once we look at the legislation.
This was just a simple introduction from John and the planning department. Excuse me.
Nice work, guys.
And so, it's now we have time for the board to digest it, and then we can come back with further discussion at a later point in time. John, I'm sure you guys are going to continue to work on the language both for Yorktown Heights and Jefferson Valley.
Yeah, I think that we can come back in a couple of weeks and with Yorktown Heights in a form that, provided that you are comfortable with what you're reading from tonight here on in, that you can refer that out, and then we can be back by that time with a little bit more meat on the bones of the Osceola district.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Very
Thank
good.
you for the work you guys have done so far. Looks good.
Really important work. It really
Yeah,
is.
it looks nice.
Really
Thanks.
It's Robin. You guys do good work together.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
So we're going to move on to quickly on the environmental and traffic consultant, John. I know.
Yeah, and Robin can stay for this too, because Robin knows all about this stuff as well.
Yep, absolutely.
If you don't mind, Robin.
Robin saying, I got to get up in the morning and come in and see you. So,
Oh, he's off.
We got 2 little boys.
he's off tomorrow?
I am.
Oh, that's denied. All right, you're coming in.
Your environmental, and so there's 2 separate things. One of the reasons I think it's important, and for me, I saw it with the Getty station, John, is how much time you had to personally invest in understanding the traffic side of the engineering reports that we were getting. I know you and I have also talked about, and Alice has also advocated for an environmental consultant. So you and I have had these conversations, so I thought it'd be good for us to bring it to the board and plant the seed again.
Hey, John, what's that street that the Getty station's on?
Barger.
Wagga.
Oh, there he goes. There he goes. I had
that. You know the street. You know the street. You say tomato, I say tomato. So yes, and with the traffic consultant, we have had a traffic consultant that works for us on an on-call basis.
Yes.
They were really there for projects that came up within the Sustainable Development Study. But I think it's worthwhile to have an agreement such as that with a firm for anywhere in town. The reason being is, traffic engineering is unusual engineering area, and you really have to be well versed in it to go toe to toe, so to speak, with traffic engineers. And if you spend the time, which I spent the time with a couple of them, I don't always have the time to do it. I did with the Barger Street. You can find things that really raise questions. I think a traffic consultant can do that, very quickly. I wouldn't have to spend that kind of time, and they don't have to spend that kind of time. They do those all the time. So I think it's that important because it really understanding in those words is the meat and potatoes of what makes your decisions. And if you are on the ball with those guys, you can make better decisions for the community. That's the importance of it. And I think having that support is worthwhile. And in particular, if it's an on-call basis, you can charge back most of them under most of our laws and really any state law that I believe enables us to do that.
Right.
It's really to the town. Sometimes I think it's worthwhile having them, in which we would have to pay it, find the budgetary or the budget for it, which, I often do have professional services line, but I think it's important to have. Right. So it really helps.
If you're being submitted a plan and you need someone to be able to look it over who is, on the same wavelength as they are.
Yeah.
I think that's important. Environmental is, to me, I think Yorktown was first in its approach to doing a lot of things on the environment and had always had an environmental consultant.
Yes.
Don, you and I discussed you've had some RFPs run up in the past. Do were you able to track those down? Those were, I think, for specifically for the environmental consultant.
Yes, I did track that down. Yes, okay. I have it. I mean, I could put it up if you wanted, but
no, it's, I think
verbiage. Yeah,
I think you could share it with Adam, so this way he can review them, and then we can come back to the board and make a decision about putting that out. Same with the traffic consultant, but especially I know Dave Paganelli, our highway superintendent, has been advocating for the traffic consultant for quite some time because, and to his credit and to his point, I think it's important for, as we saw with the Getty project, you really had to invest a lot of time to push back on some of the things that they were putting forward. Sure. And we really needed to be able to, and you did a great job, a fine job. So I'm not trying to diminish your role or your abilities. But I think it's also equally as important to make sure that we have, someone pitching for our team and pushing back on some of the things that we're being sold to fact check it and make sure that it's accurate, make sure it's right, and make sure it's good for the community. And so that's why I think the traffic consultant is really important, and same with the environmental consultant, because I know, obviously, especially with some of the applications that we've seen before the planning board, having that environmental consultant would, I think, provide some great benefit, not just to your department, but to the planning board as well, and obviously the town board and the community as a whole. So I'd like to see both of them move forward, as we've discussed, and as you mentioned here. I did confirm with our comptroller that there is money in your professional services line for next year budgeted already that could be utilized to offset some of the costs. But to your point, a lot of those costs are shouldered by the applicant.
Yes, the way the traffic consultant worked at the time was, as I said, it was on call. So if we had a project that needed that type of service, we would ask them for the proposal for what they thought it would take to review that particular project. We would then present that to the applicant and have them agree to reimburse that money. So it was by agreement. Right. It's under the law that you can do it, but we do it in an upfront way, and they know what they're up against, and it really went pretty smoothly. Some good services to put forth our interests, which we have plenty of interest when it comes to traffic. You can be with the environmental. Yeah. I think that's the way, if I recall, it was, that's always a little bit more difficult because there's a lot more sections of things that they can do. They don't need to do the whole kit of tools that they have on each project, but it can be done this largely.
I think certainly design districts, it will be interesting to bring in to have both at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Value there, and also, like I said, with some of the projects that we already have applications before the planning board, I'm sure that the planning board members would appreciate having that independent insight as well. So good. So if you can just maybe put with Adam, we'll get get the necessary paperwork moving, and maybe that's how we can start out next year, is by getting them back.
Thank you.
As you have described, I think it makes a lot of sense.
We'll work with Adam, and that's just something to look at, and then possibly move to circulate for.
Very good. Any other questions from the board?
So you're still with us, John? One more.
I'm still with you.
Well, no, we're gonna table solar fees.
Oh, okay.
John Landy asked that it be tabled. There's some development more, and
Yes,
so
you can go home.
John, you're off the hook. So is Robin. Thank you both for all you do for the town. We really appreciate
guys.
Good night, guys.
So good.
Have a good night.
We're gonna
Thank you.
Adam Rodriguez, town attorney, to discuss the updated drag racing legislation. Adam?
This is excellent.
It is excellent. Adam, I said it to you before.
Hi.
You did a very, very good job with updating this legislation. Very comprehensive, and I think it accomplishes what we had set out to do.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it's two laws, really. The first would be a new subsection 275 which would be entitled the Euro Drag Racing Law, that essentially makes it illegal to engage in drag racing under the town code and provides a fine of not less than $1,000, no more than $5,000 for violating the provision. The second would be also in Chapter 275, it would be the forfeiture law that we discussed. And essentially, it would allow for the forfeiture of vehicles used by those that are arrested or issued summonses for engaging in drag racing. If they're convicted or plead guilty, the town could initiate forfeiture proceedings in the Supreme Court. The town board would have to authorize the proceeding to be brought by the town attorney or some special counsel. The proposed law does allow for a number of sort of affirmative defenses to be raised. One is an innocent owner defense. So if the owner of a vehicle had no actual or constructive knowledge or reason to believe that the car would be used in a drag race, that could be something that they could bring forth to prevent the forfeiture of the automobile. It also includes a hardship relief provision for those owners who would be exposed to financial or other hardship if the automobile was forfeited. There's also a disposition scheme, so it lays out sort of what would happen to the vehicles after forfeiture. The town could use it for its own purposes, or it could be sold at public auction, etc.
Ooh, like if we took in a Lamborghini.
I stuck in a provision that says that if it's a Lamborghini or like model, it goes to the town attorney's office.
What about a hoopty?
It goes to the highway department.
What about a hoopty?
Hoopty. Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
You get to keep that one.
No, like I said, I think it's a very comprehensive piece of legislation. It accomplishes what we set out to do. It's as we heard from Chief Noble previously, it's really two more tools for the tool belt to make sure that we're keeping our residents safe.
Absolutely.
And
that's fine. Yeah.
You did a fine job with this. Thank you.
No, my pleasure.
So, I don't know if the board wants more time. I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, you got to refer it out, and then we can.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is why don't we refer it out? I just didn't know if the board needed more time.
Yep.
Nope.
He did.
All right. Can I ask you one question? Does the motorcycle include in this law? Because they go crazy, and a little mopeds and like.
Yeah, Adam, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, it incorporates the definition of vehicle under, I forget the section, I'd have to pull it up. But yes, it does include motorcycles.
Because some of the guys, they go up our street and they just go, they lift their little moped and they go up and down, really very high speed,
I've heard them. Matt, I'm sure you've heard them.
Oh yeah, I hear them. Diana, can you take a look at your calendar for us, though? I just, when we refer them out, I do like to make sure that we have a date in mind for a public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably we're going to be looking to next year.
Looking to the
21.
new year in January.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That's going to look to the new year in January.
Okay. So why don't we refer out, and then we'll refer out to all necessary agencies. And Diana, when are you going to set the calendar for next year?
That typically it's a little late. That typically gets done with the town board in the first meeting in January.
What was that word, Diana?
Typically. Typewriterly. Okay, so then why don't we refer out, and then we'll set the public hearing. I'm sorry, what was that, Councilwoman?
Want to set it in January because we'll be into the year and she'll be able to figure out.
Exactly. Yep. That's fine. But in the meantime, we will refer it out to all agencies so that we can get it moving. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion so moved. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. That concludes the. Oh, I'm sorry. We still have some agenda.
Resolution.
Now it's getting late for me. I said agendas. We still have some resolutions. We have one from Section 8. I'll go right to the end. Be it resolved, the town board is hereby authorizing the extensions and revisions outlined in the attachment summary of public housing and HCV waivers and requirements be adopted. I'll take a motion on that.
Motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going to table the human resources.
Yeah.
On closed session. And that is the last resolution. I'm going to make a motion that we go into executive session again to discuss personnel employment of a particular person.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. And we will adjourn from executive session. Thank you very much. Closed session. Thank you.
Good night, Yorktown.
All right.